Right, there you go. Right, well, welcome to Social Styles Workshop. Great to see you all. Thanks for coming along. Did you all get the 3 pre-reading papers and the workbook? So everyone's got that? Yes. Fantastic. So the pre-reading papers we'll sort of refer to as we go through the workshop. So it's mainly the workbook that we'll be working through. So you've all got that either in a printed copy or on another screen. Is that okay?
Yes.
Fantastic.
Page 1.
Page 1. Yeah, it's a good place to start.
The 50 pages, Brendan.
That's right. Yeah, sorry, 50 pages. Yeah. Lots of pictures though, Jordan.
That's good.
That's mainly for you. Okay, well, let's get started. If you have I don't know if you've had a read of the introduction I wrote on page 2. The reason I've added this is I'm always a little wary of sending out a workbook on this sort of stuff. Obviously, before the session, I normally just bring printed copies to a face-to-face session. So I'm always wary about sending it out without some form of introduction. So I'll just go through that quickly. If you haven't had a read of it, you can follow it through. It's on page 2 there. And if you have any questions after that page, more than happy to answer them. So as I've said, human behaviour has been studied since the time of the ancient Greeks, since the time of Plato and Socrates. In fact, probably before that, that we know about. In the 20th century, it was given impetus in the early 20th century by Sigmund Freud, and then by this guy called Carl Jung. And apparently, I think Jung was kind of like Freud's apprentice, but being both exceptionally talented and intellectual, they had a falling out, and so Jung kind of went his own way. So what we're going to look at today is all based on Jungian theory, as I've called it here. Has anyone done anything like this before? Ellen, Jordan, yep. And that's fine. So as I've said in the notes there, this is all based on Jungian theory. This is, and whatever other model you might have studied, is all based on Jungian theory. So whilst the labels might be a bit different, the concepts shouldn't be contradictory in what you've done. So again, as I've said here, there's over 7 billion people on the planet, and let me just stress, everybody's different. All of you are different. All 7 billion people are different, and that's the joy of humanity, I suppose, and the fun of it all too. And what we're going to end up doing in this session today is put everyone into one of 4 boxes, which seems completely daft, doesn't it, when you think about it? But as we go through today, you'll see that patterns of behaviour in people emerge, and you can kind of group them together. That will become more evident as we go through today. And the main thing about today's workshop, it's about behaviour, because it's what you can see. It's what others see in you. It's what you do, what you say, whether you do what you say you will do, all of those things. And this is really important. There's no right or wrong place to be. You are what you are, and that's absolutely fine. I'm not going to psychoanalyze you. The main reason I'm not going to do that is I'm not a psychoanalyst. I wouldn't know how. So my role is just to deliver this theory, but it's a pretty well-tested theory. You've got to say. So, but it is situational, as I've said there. So your relationship with everyone will be slightly different. So my relationship with each of you. Obviously I've known Jordan for a while. The rest of you I've met in the last few weeks. For Mihaela and Cesar, I've only just met you. But my relationship with both of you will still be a bit different, because you'll be perceiving me in different ways based on your experiences and your learnings and so on. So every relationship you have is situational, and it depends upon yourself and the other person. And we'll see more on that as we go through as well. And again, as I've said at the end, I don't think social styles is the be-all and end-all of everything. But if you're struggling in a relationship, whether it be at work or at home or whatever, with your friends, you may find some of the answers in here. Any questions on any of that before we start? Sip of coffee. Great, thank you. I'll just round off that first bit by saying I ran this session, I think it was in Sydney years and years ago, and a woman came up to me at the end of the session and said, Brendan, thanks very much, really enjoyed the workshop, blah, 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 that's great. And she said, I can now understand why my marriage didn't work. Exactly. And then I thought about it.
No pressure, guys.
So I thought about that for a while. Then I thought, if that's what people are getting out of it, I'm not charging enough for it. But anyway, that's another thing. Now, can you all understand me okay? Mahela,
Yes.
you can understand me okay?
Yes.
Mhm.
I don't think anyone's ever said that to me before, Jordan. As you can see, when I've worked with some of you before, I like a laugh and a joke. So, but also I like people to be honest. So the thing with human behaviour, I don't think there's ever any absolute black or white with it. There's a lot of grey areas. So you might look at someone and think, wow, that person's like that. I might look at them and think something different. So there's a lot of grey areas. So please feel free to disagree, be open and honest with it. Because that's the best way to be, and I think it's the best way to learn as well. So let's kick off with a bit of an activity. You'll see on pages 3 and 4, there's 2 pages, and it's called Your Favourite Friend. So I'll just read the instructions with you. The following 4 people are friends of yours, but who would be your favourite? Rank them from number 1 to number 4 in order of who you would most like to be your friend, number 1, through to who you would least like to be your friend, number 4. Now, this isn't at work. These are whoever would be your friend. Okay, so if you just take 5 minutes and just rank them 1, 2, 3, or 4, if you would.
Mary is a sociopath.
Sorry, say that again.
Mary is a sociopath.
Yes. Yes.
She's just pretending, you know?
Oh, do you think?
She's actually killing 10 people a day.
Pretend. You're so cynical, Vlad. We done?
No.
Okay. Couple more
I
minutes.
have one more.
Couple more minutes.
Mhm.
Do I have to be friends with them?
Good question.
Well, you can say you're not friends with any of them, but just put them in order.
Okay.
Have you got any friends, Ellen?
Mm. in my head.
Hmm. Julian is a 4.
You've only got 2 or 3 paragraphs on each of these, so this is quite a difficult thing to do, and you're making a lot of assumptions probably. So
Yeah.
there's no right or wrong answers. It's not a test.
I got it. I mean, I'm done.
You're done. Okay, everyone done?
Yes.
Okay, we'll go. So Alex, who did you
Yeah.
have as your who did you have as your favourite?
It's hard to have a favorite, but let's say John.
John. So you like John, okay. Mihaela, who did you have?
I think Mary. I am between Mary and John.
So, okay, you like Mary a lot then, but you like John as well?
Yeah.
Okay. Vlad?
I like Mary.
Mary? Okay. Cesar?
Cesar, you are on mute.
You're on mute?
Sorry about that.
There you go. You're
I
right, mate.
chose Robin as my number one.
Okay. Ellen?
You know, when she's not killing people and burying them in her basement, Mary seems.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that was my PS also.
Ellen, don't
Sorry.
encourage Vlad, please.
Yeah.
Tudor?
I chose Robin.
Robin, okay.
Mhm.
And Jordan?
Julian.
Julian, okay. So you're the only person that chose Julian as your favorite, Jordan. Why was that? Or
The
why did
other-
you choose him?
The other three sounded fucking boring.
Julian is number 2.
Right, okay.
Julian was close. Yeah.
That's honestly the
So,
reason. The other three seemed boring.
So a few of you chose Mary as your most favorite. Why did you choose her?
I mean, she's delightful. It's the
She's
first thing.
delightful.
You
It's
know,
almost,
fun, lighthearted, cheerful.
It's almost what's not to like about her, isn't it?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, I don't like people
Except
who
the
don't like
killing part.
the killing part. No, but I don't like the no conflict thing is a problem. People who avoid conflict, that's a problem for me. But you know,
Yeah.
but since I am not afraid of conflict, I can get Mary. I'll stand up to her.
So you like a bit of conflict, Ellen?
I do.
He does.
You go looking for it.
If I look for it, it just finds me.
So some of you had John. What was it? Alex, did you have
Alex.
John and Mihaela, maybe?
Yeah, I was between Mary and John.
Oh, that's right. So what did you like about John?
The fact that he's very interested in what he does mostly.
Okay.
To achieve results and not having
Yeah.
too many friends. I consider it to be very interesting, but to have close friends.
Right. So not a lot of friends, but the ones he's got, he's quite sort of close to. Yep. And Robin. So who had Robin? No, Tudor, you had Robin, I think. didn't you?
Yeah, me and
Myself.
Cesar.
And Cesar. Well, what do you guys like about Robin?
Attention to details.
Yeah.
And I would say high quality work
Mhm.
comes from this type of social style
Yeah.
Yep.
behavior.
Yeah, definitely. Okay. Well, who was your least favorite then? We'll go around again. Jordan, who was your least favorite? Don't just say the other three because they're all poor.
Robin.
Robin was your least favorite. Why was that?
Robin/Mary. I had them kind of equal.
Okay. Right. Okay.
Yeah. I mean Mary because I just think she'd just be boring and annoying. If someone's always trying to fix things for people, or you know, it's like, you know, get a life. And Robin, because it's just a little too. I struggle sometimes with too introverted. You know,
Right.
like too introverted, and I'm like, oh, for God's sakes, give me something.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Tudor, who was your least favorite?
I think I chose John.
Sorry, say that again.
Friend B. It was John.
John was your least favorite. Why was that?
Let me see. I don't remember. You have noticed it. It's. I mean, he's not like a more open and friendly person for
Mhm.
everyone, and this type of person cannot work in some function or some some fields.
Yeah.
But I believe John has a great mindset of maybe a leader or something like that, but not in a maybe not in a team, if that makes sense.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I think with John, a lot of people read the word bullied. You know, this can sometimes leave people with the impression they're being bullied, and that really turns people off him. I think, you know, even though he's got a lot of other attributes.
Yeah.
Cesar, who was your least favorite?
I put Mary as number 4 and John as number 3.
Right.
Mary, because of the fact that it can get a bit, I don't know, irritating at times to have all the time a person that jumps for your help or that, I don't know, tries to give you a good joke, or exactly like Jordan said, get a life. And John, because I don't know, maybe the fact that I might be considered bullied by him, if he would be around.
Yeah.
So
that is quite a strong word, isn't it? When you see the word bullied in there, that's quite a strong word.
It is, yeah.
Definitely. Yeah. Thanks, Cesar. Vlad, your least favorite?
Julian, because she poses as somebody else, practically.
Okay. Well, you don't think that's the real him?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks, Vlad. Mahela, who was your least favorite?
I will say also Julian,
Right.
because reading this description reminded me of not a friend, a person that was at a certain time in our group, and it was exactly like this, showing off about everything and being the best of everything and knowing everything.
Hey, Vlad's in the room. All right.
I know, but that's not him.
No,
but not many of us around.
You pretended to know everything. I actually do.
Yeah, there's quite a difference, Vlad. Yeah, and I didn't feel good around him because he was making us feel less.
Yes,
makes sense. Makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Julian was my third option, so it was close.
Right. Okay. Thanks. And Alex, who was your least favorite?
I've chosen Robin.
Okay.
But the main reason is just because I have already ranked the other 3.
Right. And it is an order of preference. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Ellen, your least favorite?
Yeah, I chose Robin because she seems too rigid. I need someone who's like can be open to ideas or, you know, change their mind, you know, with proper persuasion.
Okay. Thanks for that. So, you know, group of people, and you've all basically, you know, some of you are similar, but you've all basically chose different favorites, different least favorites. And I think that just confirms what we were just saying before, that everybody's different. We all see things differently. We all see different things in different people. As I said, there's only 2 or 3 paragraphs on each person, but you're probably finding, like Mahela, you've sort of comparing one of these to someone that you know, and probably didn't like by the sound of it. Actually, it's interesting because obviously 3 of these are fictitious. One of them I based on a real person. That's exactly what that person was like. Which one do you think is the real one?
Julian.
Julian, yeah, spot on.
Yeah, Julian, yeah.
He's a guy I used to work with in a bank in Melbourne, and he was just he's an American guy, and his name is Julian Raoul Champion de Crepini was his full name. And
Champion?
he and I just, you know, we just used to be at each other. You know, I was his boss. But we ended up great friends. I ended up going to his wedding. So, but that is exactly what Julian was like. In fact, you'll laugh at this, Ellen. He walked into the office once, and we all had workstations. and this is in Australia, obviously, and someone yelled out, "Yankee, go home!"
Oh my God,
Of course, Julian's bastards. Who said that? Who said that?
that's funny.
Very funny, yeah. Okay, let's move on. If you could all have a read of pages 5 and 6, if you would. There's a lot of pictures, Jordan, so it won't take you long.
They have a little bit of text inside.
Okay, just very quickly about what this is all about. I guess we hear about emotional intelligence quite a bit, and emotional intelligence is, as I've listed it there, it's said to include 3 skills. That is emotional awareness, the ability to harness emotions and apply them to tasks like thinking and problem solving, and also the ability to manage emotions, which includes regulating your own emotions and cheering up or calming down other people. That's what emotional intelligence is. So social styles that we're looking at today is basically a model that you can use to apply your emotional intelligence and bring it to life. And the tree on page 6 is basically just confirms what we already know, that we all learn in different ways. We see things in different ways. We like socializing differently. All of those things, you know, some of us are visual. In fact, I think the majority of people are visual, but other people are oral, verbal, all of those things. Everyone is different, and as we've said. Any questions on that? Okay, if we have a look at page 7, this is the objectives of today's workshop. So firstly, we're going to help you understand more about yourself, why and how you behave in certain ways, and how you are likely to behave in certain situations. To understand more about how you are perceived by other people and how that relates to your own self-perception. How accurate do you think my perception of myself is, or your perception of yourself, compared to how other people see you? Do you think it's very accurate, or a little bit accurate, or not very accurate?
Mine was like used to be way off.
Way off, right? So it used to be.
Yeah.
So what changed? What changed?
Me, myself, and I.
All 3 of you.
Yeah, me, my ego, my super ego,
Yeah.
Yeah, I actually had to change a lot and listen more to people, because I was a great guy back then, but people didn't see that. A lot of people.
You sure you were a great guy back then?
Yeah, inside.
Inside, right? Okay. What's everyone else think?
It's difficult to have like I don't believe I have a good perspective and about myself, or how I act, or like Vlad said, but just stronger. I think I'm way off. Like.
Okay. Well, we'll talk a bit as we go through. I mean, you've all had a look at the Johari window paper, which is about, you know, self-perception and so on. Some people are very self-aware, and if people are very self-aware, there won't be much of a gap between how they see themselves compared to how other people see them. But that can be as little as 1/3 accurate when other people, or somewhere in between. You know, if it's only 1/3 accurate, in other words, people, you only see yourself 1/3 of the way that other people see you, then you're probably someone that's got a few issues. I'm sure.
I know people that are 1%.
One. Oh, well, they certainly have issues. Then I will say.
Yeah.
Sorry, we hadn't finished the objectives. So the other two things that we're going to look at today are to understand more about the behaviour of other people, and finally to examine ways in which you can respond appropriately to other people to help you to achieve consistently positive outcomes and build stronger relationships. And the whole purpose of this is the last line and a half. That's to help you to achieve consistently positive outcomes and build stronger relationships. Whether it be with each other, whether it be with your teams, other people in your business, or whether it be with customers. It's all about building stronger relationships. Okay, if you turn over to page 8. So this is, I call this the onion, because it's what people see in our behaviour. So the outside layer, as we know, onions peel away from the outside. The outside layer of the onion is our behaviour, and that's what people will focus on, because it's, as I said before, it's what they see you do, it's what they hear you say, it's whether you do what you say, and it's visible and it's audible. So it's everything that they can see and hear. So they will deal with you based on your behaviour. As we delve into the onion, in the centre of the onion are our values, and we all value different things. Might be similar cocktails. So it might be health, might be wealth, might be our family. For example, I know Jordan's got two young kids, so that I would imagine his 2 daughters are fairly high up on his list of values. So it can be fitness, it can be work, it can be a lot of different things. They're probably similar for all of us, but maybe in different cocktails. Sometimes we'll value some things more than the other, and that's absolutely fine. So they're at the center of the onion. That will drive our feelings. So if one of those things is threatened, then that will drive how we feel, which in turn drives our behavior. Does personality come into it? Yeah, yes, it does. But this is not about personality. It's more about behavior. And the great news about your behavior is if you don't like it, it's possible to change it. It can be difficult to change if you've ever tried to, I don't know, give up smoking or whatever, or get fitter or whatever that might be. It can be difficult to change, but it is possible. And I think, do you think our behavior changes as we get older?
Oh, totally.
Yeah.
All the time. It doesn't matter the age, from my opinion, especially if you are an open-minded person. I think you can change, maybe not drastically after an age, but you can still change, and you should accept the change.
Definitely. And as you get older, you're quite young, Tudor, so as you get older, you probably continue to change. And as you say, as you say, sorry, you maybe only change a little bit. So in other words, you don't become a different person, but you do maybe modify your behaviour a bit. Certainly.
Of course.
But it's how we perceive things. I worked for Bank of Scotland in London for 3 years, and my boss was the managing director, and he was a very, very friendly guy, very amiable type guy, and he'd come to work every day and he'd stop at the workstation. Hi, Brendan, how are you today? Yeah, great, blah, blah, blah. One day he came in and didn't say good morning and ask how I was. He just walked past my workstation and went to his office. What was I thinking?
You were in trouble.
Yeah, or he's mad, or he got something on his mind. But the first thing, I believe you got upset because you got used to him like just salute you.
Yeah, because it's always all about me for everyone. It must be me. I'm the most important person, right? So morning tea time, he came out of his office. I don't know where, he probably went to the toilet or something, and went back in. Still didn't say hello to me. So I'm now thinking, wow, I must have really screwed something up. Right? So lunchtime, he goes out, gets his lunch, goes back in, still hasn't spoken to me. I'm now buying the jobs paper. right?
Mm.
We make these leaps, don't we? And we make all these assumptions pretty much. Now, it could have been, his name was Bob. Bob might have had a fight with his wife that morning. He might have crashed his car on the way to work, or scratched it, or had a fight. Who knows? Anything could have happened. But we always think it's about us, don't we? So anyway, so it's all about behavior. So the final bit on this page, and we're going to look a bit more into this, there's been a number of studies done since the 1960s on how we communicate. You'll see those percentages there. I didn't believe these when I first saw them, and there are a few sort of conditions that the researchers put on this, but generally 55% of how we communicate is body language. Another 38% is tone of voice, and words are only 7% of how we communicate. And as I said, when I first saw that, I didn't believe it. And it's like, how can words only be 7% of how we communicate?
Can I jump in for a second?
Yeah.
So when I was a brand consultant, I used to teach this. It's Albert Moravian. And
yeah.
So the way they did the initial study is really interesting. So they had a group of people in an audience, and they coached their subject, not the subjects, but like the people that were the actors in the study, and they came out and they gave speeches. And some people were like really disheveled and like looked like slobs, but like talked very precise and had a lot of confidence and could handle the content. They mixed it all up. Some came in and looked totally professional, but stuttered and couldn't, like, you know, and so it was really trying to see of like what you looked like, what you sounded like, or the content of what you said. How did that impact the audience's perception of you? So we used to teach this in brand consulting, because we were like, listen, you might have the absolute best product and you can tell people that, but how you tell them and what it looks like when you tell them is actually going to be more important than what you're actually doing. You know, so we talked about it a lot from an external, like a brand, company, corporate perception.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the other thing with those 3% is 55, 38, and 7. I think one of the disclaimers they had on it was that it mainly applies when the situation is ambiguous. So if you're not sure, then body language becomes more important. Anyway, there's 3 pages of I've reproduced a study of it, and the reason we look at into this quite closely is if we're going to determine what styles people are based on how they behave, body language, as we know, is a huge part of it. So if you could read pages 9, 10, and 11, please, and we'll have a chat about it afterwards. Probably just confirms what you're saying, Ellen, I think. So we're reading pages 9, 10, and 11. Vlad?
Yeah, I heard.
Okay, just I'd like to pick up on these three C's that are mentioned in there. Firstly, the context in bearing in mind this is all situational. The context it kind of depends on what the history is between these people, or so if it's a manager talking to their team member, or if it's someone talking to a customer, or it also depends on what history they've got in the past, whether they've had discussions in the past, whether they've had conflict. And also if you're with a customer and there's two people there and it's a manager and the employee, the employee is probably not going to behave quite the same as he would if you had that person by himself. So that's what context's all about. Clusters is, I find this quite funny actually, because I think the study of body language came out, well, it was expanded a lot in the 1980s. And it used to be like, if you had a shirt and tie on, or even a jumper like mine, and I was fiddling it with like this, it kind of meant I was lying to you. But it could also mean I've got a bit of a rash from on my skin, so there could be a number of reasons. Or if you're sitting like this, it might mean that you're upset or not wanting to get involved. But again, you might just have a bit of a sore back, and that might be a comfortable way to sit. So it's important to look at everything in the whole, not pick on one bit of body language or one bit of facial expression or whatever. The third one is congruence, which I find really interesting, and that's best explained if you look at page 10, halfway down page 10. Moravian says, when there are inconsistencies between attitudes communicated verbally and posturally, the postural component should dominate and determine the total attitude that is inferred. So in other words, if the words and the body language are saying different things, believe the body language. Because I think sadly, we find it easier to tell lies than we do to disguise our body language. Which is interesting, isn't it? The example of that, I actually got this example off Moravian's Wikipedia page. And a verbal statement might be, I do not have a problem with you. But the non-verbal clues is the person avoiding eye contact, looking anxious and fidgeting. So clearly they do have a problem with you, even though they're saying they don't. Any further thoughts on any of that?
I just find this stuff really interesting for us as a distributed team, right?
Yeah.
Like we do a lot of Zoom calls and stuff, but we spend a lot of time on Slack. I mean, that's a primary mode of communication. Or if we're in Podio and we're just tagging somebody in, that tends to be very like official, right? It doesn't have any padding to it. It's just business in Podio. And then Slack is a lot more jokey, but I mean, like, I know I overuse emojis and stuff because I'm always like, I'm joking, guys. Like, also because there's, I get concerned that being the only American, that people are misunderstanding like the cultural aspect of it, and that I want to make sure everyone knows that I'm joking, kind of stuff. So I'm like, smiley face, party hat, like.
And that's you sort of just confirming, what you're saying, what in body. If you have a look, if you go back to the bottom of page 8, those three percentages. So body language 55%, tone of voice 38%, words 7%. And as I said, this is situational, and this mainly implies where the situation is ambiguous. But if we accept that that's right. So let's accept that it's right. So when we're on the phone, as opposed to face-to-face, we eliminate 55% of how we normally communicate. When we communicate by email or text or by your live chat, we eliminate 93% of how we normally communicate. And we wonder why people get the wrong message, don't we? You send a message to someone or an email, and no, that's not what I meant. Well, actually, that's because you're not making eye contact with them. They can't question you. You can't see that they're not getting it, all of that. But also sometimes, in the evening, in the UK here, I'll send texts to friends back in Melbourne and turn my phone off and go to bed. And the next morning I get all this abuse back. Well, no, whoa, that's not what I meant. So I think that's very, you need to be careful when communicating by email. Go on, Ellen.
No, I was waving at Vlad's son.
Oh,
Who
okay. Right. I thought you were waving at me.
No.
So body language is really such a, and you know, eye contact and whatever else is such an important
Yeah.
part of what we do.
Well, but that's why a lot of these things like the emojis and, you know, even in our live chat, we can comment on somebody's thing, because if you write something and, or not comment, but like leave a reaction. Because if you write something and no one responds, you're like, did everybody hate it? Did they not like, you know, so even just the ability to like do a little check mark, like got it, like cool, you know.
Because you're getting nothing back. Yeah, it's like,
yeah, the feedback.
it's like
It
Pink
goes both
Floyd.
ways.
Is there anybody out there, you know?
Right. Yeah.
Okay, just one or two more warm-up exercise, then we're going to get into the guts of this theory. So if you have a look at page 12, if you would. And I'd like you just to take a couple of minutes to do this. Think of the individual relationships that you have. It can be work, family, social, sporting, you know, clubs, whatever. I don't want to know any names, so no names. Think of your relationships that are working well, and write down some words and short phrases that describe these relationships in the left-hand column. And then think of some relationships that aren't working so well, and think of words and short phrases and put those in the right-hand column. So, for example, you might say in best relationships, well, I've got a mate that was always completely honest with me, even if it's something I don't like hearing. So you might put best relationship might be honesty. Worst could be actually, I'm never sure that they're completely honest with me. So if you just take a couple of minutes to do that, and then we'll chat about it. Okay, we'll start with the best relationships. So who'd like to volunteer something? What do you
Okay, I
got?
will go first.
Thanks, Cesar.
For the best relationships, I put trust.
Trust. Okay, just one thing's
yes.
fine. Just one thing, then we'll go around the others. Trust. So that's great. Thank you. So trust, in other words, it's a two-way thing. You trust them, they trust you, sort of thing.
Exactly.
Yep. Thanks. Someone else.
Transparency.
Transparency. Oh, I like it. Yep. So you can see what you're getting. Yep.
Communication.
Sorry.
Communication.
Communication. Great. Thank you.
Respect.
Respect. Like it. Yep. Alex, what do you got?
I have open and honest communication and mutual care.
And sorry, mutual.
Mutual care.
Right.
And we
mutual
care
care.
about each other.
Yeah. Got it. Yeah. Jordan.
I've got humor and not too touchy.
Humor. So not too
touchy.
touchy, not too sensitive, you mean? Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Anyone not had a go?
No.
That's great. Anyone got any others?
Ellen.
You guys
Sorry,
hit
Ellen.
on most of, yeah, no, you hit on most of mine. I mean, so I guess I went a little, I had some of this stuff, but I also was like having common experiences together, like sharing, like
Shared
having,
experiences.
I wrote new adventures / shared experiences is what I wrote.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Thank you. Anybody got anything different they'd like to add?
On the side note of Ellen's, I had shared values.
Right. Yep. Fantastic. Okay, let's flip it over then. Some of the not so good relationships. And often with these, it'll be kind of the opposite of what we've just said, you know, obviously. But anyone like to kick us off?
I
Ellen?
put
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, go. Can't be friends with people that lie.
Right. Liars, right. Yeah, thank you.
I put people that mislead you.
Right. Misleading you, so it's like lying, but maybe not quite as bad.
I have one that's like the opposite of Alex's mutual care. I wrote,
Yeah.
I'll give, no take. Like
Right.
someone that drains you, they don't give back.
Yeah.
Or give
Good
no
one,
take
Ellen.
and draining. Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay. Any more? Tudor, what do you got? Sorry.
If that makes sense, about thinking not in a negative way, catastrophic.
Right.
If that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. Sorry, Ellen, you were going to say something?
No, you're just totally right. Mine are the opposite from them. So I said, like, you're kind of always guessing what they're thinking. You're unsure. So that's like the opposite of transparency.
Yeah.
I also said like too instructive, like always telling me what to do.
Right.
Surprised that doesn't work for me.
Really?
And
Oh, get out of here.
and then also like always chasing, always feeling like, you know, that person doesn't necessarily want, you know, like always having to put the effort out. The other person's not putting the effort.
Right. You're always the one that has to follow them up and so
right. So I guess that goes along with the give, I'll get draining.
Yeah, sure. Any others? Jordan, you got any others? Negative?
Well, actually, negativity. I can't handle people who are always negative. That's
Okay, thanks for that. Right, well, the reason we do this activity, and this is always jumps out at me quite strongly, and the reason we do it is when I've written them down on my workbook here. So the best relationships, I don't want to tell you how to think, but I imagine you're talking about the relationship between you and the other person. Would that be right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a two-way thing. It's you and the other person.
Mhm.
The worst relationship, who are we thinking about?
The
It's
other
them, isn't
person.
it? It's,
Yeah.
it's all them, right? So the best relationships, we're thinking it's a two-way thing. It's us and them. We get on great. We're both transparent, whatever. Whereas the other worst relationships, we're thinking that's all them. Now, I'm not saying that you guys are these words we put in here. What I am saying is because social styles particularly is situational, it's a two-way thing. So whatever that relationship is, you may not have done everything you could have to improve it or to stop it being catastrophic or to even just make it better. You might not have reacted as well as you could have. Yes, these people are probably people that you might not want to know, but actually you could have maybe dealt with it a bit better. And that's why everything is situational and it's a two-way thing. Does that sound okay?
Yep.
Makes sense.
Any questions on it, or feel free to disagree? It's always two-way.
You got us.
Yeah.
Okay, we're just going to very quickly now look at some of the the three pre-work papers, and I send these out just actually to give you a bit of background to warm up, because it really is, the study of human behaviour is massive, and it's been studied to death, as I've said. So if we look at Hilltops, page 13, what can you see in that picture?
Fancy lady, an elegant lady.
Elegant. So an elegant sort of young lady, you'd say, Mihaela?
Yeah, young and elegant lady. Yeah.
Elegant young lady. Yeah. Okay. Can anybody say anything else?
I can only
Right,
ever
this-
see the old crone.
The old lady.
That's all I get. Once I see
Funny
this all the
about
time,
that.
I can only ever see the old crone.
I'm seeing
Yeah.
waves.
Jesus Christ. I see the young one.
So there's two ladies in there. There's an old lady, an old elegant lady, as Mihaela said, and there's the old crone, as Jordan said. Can
Oh,
anyone
really?
only see one?
Yeah, I can only see the old lady.
Get
Can only
out.
see
I
the old one?
can't see the old lady.
You
I
can't?
can only see the pretty lady. Yeah.
The necklace, the necklace of the young woman is the mouth of the old woman. Her ear is the eye of the old woman.
Oh,
Oh my God.
And her
makes
nose,
sense.
the young woman's nose is like a little wart or something. A mole, a bump.
Okay.
Right. Right. That's a big penny
Okay.
drop for you there, Mihaela, didn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, for me as well. Yeah.
So Tudor, can you see
Interesting.
the young lady? Or can you
Yes,
see
yes. Now I can see it.
You can see
Because,
them both.
yeah,
So,
now I can see it.
and again, it just it goes. Perhaps if any of you can still only see one of them, perhaps you can get one of your colleagues to show you afterwards. It's actually quite hard to do online. So it just tells us what we already know, that we see things differently, and sometimes I imagine when you've seen one of those ladies straight away, you've maybe struggled to see the other lady, and that's completely normal. It maybe you've seen them both straight away, and that's fine too. So, as I've said in the question there, what do Hilltops tell us about how we go about building relationships?
I mean, it's all about your perspective that you're.
Yeah.
You're-
Everyone has a different perspective.
We all see things
Of
differently.
everything, of situations, of everything, in fact.
Everything.
Mhm.
Absolutely. We all sit on a different hilltop and we all see things differently. Even identical twins, when they're born, obviously they're identical, but actually as they grow up, they have different experiences. So they would still sit on different hilltops, even, humans that are, on the face of it, sort of identical. So we all see things.
there's that expression, there's three sides to everything. There's your side, and then the truth.
Yes.
Right. And like in reading this and just becoming like an old person, I'm realized that like like the truth doesn't exist, right? Like the
Yeah.
truth doesn't exist anymore. It's always just perspectives,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah. So when the X-Files said the truth is out there, Ellen, that
Oh, yeah.
nah. And I think, you know, I can't stress this enough that, you know, how we see things. There's a word called empathy. I don't know if you've heard that, but empathy means putting yourself in the other person's shoes, you know, and all right, you can never fully do that, but actually trying to understand the other person's position or where they're coming from is a hugely important trait in business. And you know, for all of you, whether you're in sales and service or in leadership and management, it's a very important thing to do. Okay, we'll move on to Johari window, page 14. I always think Johari window sounds quite exotic, doesn't it? Until you then find out that the guys that came up with it were called Joe and Harry.
No.
Doesn't sound quite so exotic all of a sudden. So any thoughts on Johari window?
I thought it was very interesting, that bit. I thought, I think it also shows you just how much underneath the situation you may not understand, and how quick we are sometimes to act or judge without perspective of the fact that the facade may actually be quite deeper than you thought.
Yeah, definitely. Anybody else? Thanks, Jordan. I think just, you know, to sum it up, if you look at the ratio of panes as it says in here, the ideal window is more that you know and more that other people know about you. And it's you know, some of you in that best and worst relationships just talked about transparency. Well, actually, the best way to be transparent is to have that you know, ideal window in the with the openness in terms of known to you and known to others. What you end up with is with the others, if it's known to other people but not known to you, it's kind of a blind spot. Not kind of like, it is a blind spot, which would be called I guess a bull in a china shop, because actually you're not aware of your surroundings, or you're not aware of the effect that you're having on people, and you don't know what you're doing to them. If it's not known to others, but it's known to you, that's kind of an interviewer. So it's people gathering information but not prepared to share stuff. The final one is not known to you and not known to yourself, is a silent member. So this is someone that doesn't engage, doesn't seek feedback, you know, is very much isolated. So the main thing with that is, and you know, you don't want everyone to know everything about you. I'm not saying that, but certainly in a work environment, being as open as you can, you know, and sharing your thoughts freely and readily, firstly, but also getting feedback from other people on yourself, but also getting their thoughts and feedback as well, is the most healthy place to be.
But also you have to have a culture where you can do that. It's very vulnerable to do that, right?
Oh,
so you have to have a culture where you can reveal yourself and without fear of being punished. Even if people don't agree with you or they want to push back, that they understand that you've taken a leap by sharing this. Yes. So whatever it is, and so they're going to respect that, and they're going to push back in a respectful way.
Definitely, and our culture's got a big part to do with it. Yeah, because you've got to be not brave enough, but feel that you can actually share this, and it won't be held against you.
Right.
Definitely. Okay, the final paper is generational diversity, and I only just people have been asking me for this for quite a while, and I've only just put this together in lockdown because it's, you know, people say, well, actually, you know, people, millennials or baby boomers, how does that all relate to social styles? And what I'd say is it's just more information that you throw in, you know, and more research, because again, we're all different, we know that, but this kind of details how everyone is different depending on what generation you're born into. I mean, I'm a baby boomer, but I don't think I'm a typical baby boomer. So, you know, so this again, it's like social styles. It's a guide. It's a guide. So, any thoughts on that, or on what which generation you might be born into? Any thoughts of it?
I think it's broadly interesting, but I mean, I think one difficulty certainly for this company is that everybody is fucking everybody's a goddamn millennial or later. The only two people who fall into the earlier ones are Ellen and I.
Yeah.
Mostly you.
But I mean, the thing that I think is interesting is that the millennial thing, which is like, right, you hear it, they drone on and on and on about it in the media. And I'm like, guys, like millennials are turning 40. Like, it's not these like 20 somethings coming out of college, you know, like every generation is going to malign the next generation because they change and people don't like new things and whatever.
Yeah.
So.
Absolutely. And I think, you know, millennials are between 1980 and 1995. I've heard that, and these are quite long time frames, aren't they? 15 years is quite a long time frame. But I've heard that if you're a millennial born between 1980 and 1985, you're actually known as a geriatric millennial.
Name for everything.
Some people take offense to, but anyway, yeah. But as I say, it's more background for, you know, stuff that we already know. The interesting thing is that the latest generation is Generation Alpha, which, Jordan, your girls will be Generation Alpha. And as I think I've said in the end there, they've started analysing, you know, these kids already. Well, you know, to me, it's very premature. They're not adults yet. So, but how that generation evolves will be very interesting, I think. Mm-hmm. So it's really just, you know, more data on how we go about sort of working out people. And, you know, you might find some people are typical Generation Zers or typical millennials or whatever. But again, it's everyone's different. And, you know, we need to kind of remember that. And on page 15, I've just kind of summarized it there. Just when everyone's born, and a couple of dot points for each one. Any questions on that or on any of the pre-work papers?
Nope.
Nope. Makes sense.
Okay. We're going to go for almost another 2 hours, if that's okay. So do you want to have a break, a 5-minute break now?
Yeah.
If you need to go to the toilet, grab a coffee and come back, and when we come back, we'll get into the guts of this theory. Thanks, guys.
Okay.
So how are you, Mihaela? Are you okay?
Yes, all good. I was checking a bit the messages and then the notifications from my colleagues. All good.
It's hard to have 3 hours out and keep up with emails and stuff, isn't it?
A bit, but we'll handle it.
I must say, your English is absolutely perfect.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Where you're in Romania? Whereabouts in Romania are you?
We are next to 100 kilometers of the capital city of Bucharest, so in the
Right.
south. In the south.
I've never been to Romania, so I'd like to go.
It's very nice. We had a headquarters in the middle of Transylvania, where Jordan is now.
Right.
Yeah, it's very nice. We had a team building this weekend. We all
Great.
gathered. We talked a lot. Yeah,
Great. Enjoy it?
a lot, and we learned a lot because we had some interesting meetings and discussions, and it was very nice. I enjoyed it a lot.
Right. So Transylvania, so that's where Dracula's from, isn't it?
Yes.
We're about 30 kilometers away right now, Brandon, from the famous Bran Castle, which is the one from the stories, and you know, we're only about 30 kilometers away.
Yeah.
Vampires, Dracula.
Everybody knows Romania by that.
Yes.
Exactly.
That's all I
actually,
ever get, guys. Whenever I talk to people back home, or I talk to people, and you know, about from clients in smartphone, when I have meetings with people, and I say, oh, well, you know, talk to them. Oh, I'm based in Poland. Oh, office in Romania. The go-to I always get is Dracula and.
You should get some false teeth with the big molars or something there.
Yeah.
I never saw him, man.
But it's interesting because for me, I always think of Romania as like gymnastics, you know, it's where all like Natalie Comaneci and
Nadia Comaneci. Perfect
You know.
tens.
Interesting.
Perfect tens, yeah.
She's from my home
Helen,
city,
I'm old
so
enough
I'm
to remember
proud of
that.
that.
Oh, really? Oh, there you go.
Mm.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, let's press on. So if we turn to page 16, if we would, as I say, this is now we're getting into the guts of this theory. One of the things I like about this model is it breaks down its component parts. And by that, I mean just this. So any conversation is started either by the person starting it or by the person, on the other end of it. So it's either responding or influencing. The two interpersonal dimensions, as we've said here. So responding is defined as the way we respond to other people. So it's where someone talks to us, it's how we respond to them. In responding to people, we display how well we control our emotions and to what extent we show how we feel. The dimension varies from reserved at the one end of the scale to open at the other, as we can see. So if we're reserved, we'll prefer a task focus. If we're open, we'll prefer a people focus. Now, that does not mean that if we're reserved, we can't focus on people. But what it does mean is it's our normal way of behaving is to focus on the task. Likewise, if we're very open and we're people focused, it doesn't mean we can't focus on the task. But again, our natural way of behaving is to focus on people. If we're reserved, we tend not to show our feelings. If we're open, we readily show our feelings. Now, in reality, we're all somewhere along that dimension, from 0 to 100 or however you want to rate it. We're all somewhere along that dimension. So, for example, if I was very, very reserved, so if I'm right on the left-hand edge of the dimension, and someone said to me, Brendan, tell me a bit about yourself, I'd probably say something like, oh, well, I'd be quite closed and say, there's nothing much to tell, really. Okay. On the other hand, if I was very, very open, and someone said, tell me a bit about yourself, I would probably say, do you want to get yourself a cup of tea and make yourself comfortable? This could take a while. Right? So, but obviously, the two extremes of basically the one thing. So we're going to do a bit more work and get you, there's a questionnaire for you to work out where you sit on this. But just as a first thought, who feels like they're more reserved? You put your hand up if you feel more reserved. So Tudor, just Tudor.
Jordan.
So everyone else thinks they're more open?
I think
gather. Okay.
I'm in the middle or something. I feel in the middle,
Okay.
depending on the
drawn a little-
situation as we talk.
Yes, yes. I
Sure.
mean, I feel um, I can say easily that I used to be more reserved. Lately, not that much because of Jordan and Vlad helping me. But
Not drinking.
I don't think that will solve it, Vlad. I don't like to drink.
What
so-
we're talking about here, and yes, I get that, you know, we'll say it depends on the situation, but what we're talking about is where we're most comfortable being. You know, if we're most comfortable being task focused, or if we're most comfortable being people focused. Okay, so that we're going to do more work on these, as I said. So that's responding. So influencing then is when we go up. As I said, it's the way we approach other people to get what we want. It's how we go about influencing their behavior, and varies from indirect to direct. So if we're indirect, we're more likely to ask, and if we're direct, we're more likely to tell. If we're indirect, we'll like a slower pace. If we're direct, we like a faster pace. So who here thinks they're indirect? So go on, Ellen.
I think I'm more direct.
Get out of here.
Thank you.
Cesar, what do you think?
Same here. I think.
More direct? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Mahela, what do you think? Direct, indirect?
I would go for indirect. I like to be not so direct. Yeah, indirect, I think. I'm trying to gather my feelings and my thoughts. Yeah.
Yeah. Jordan, direct or indirect?
Direct.
He's looking at
100%.
he's looking at me like, are you kidding, man? Are you kidding? Tudor?
Indirect.
Indirect.
sure.
Okay. Alex?
Direct, more of a
Direct?
direct than indirect.
Okay. Vlad?
Direct.
Direct. Okay. Remembering as we do all this is all our self-perception, which can be as little as 1/3 accurate, as we've said earlier. So we'll just park that for the moment. Okay, what I'd like you to do now, on the next 2 pages, both are pages about the responding dimension. So page 17, it talks about people at the reserved end of the responding dimension, and page 18 talks about people at the open end. So realistically, we're a mixture of both. What I'd like you to do on those just 2 pages, just for the responding dimension, there's 12 ticks on each page. Where you see a tick, if it sounds like something you'd be comfortable with, put another tick next to it. If it sounds like something that's you're not comfortable with, then leave it blank. Now, it might be, so if we look at page 17, the first tick is prefer to talk to people on a one-to-one basis rather than in groups. So you prefer, you know, it to be more intimate. On the open end, on page 18, it says prefer to interact with lots of people in large groups. Now, for me, I would tick both of those, and it's probably because my job, you know, as a trainer and so on, I'm comfortable doing either. But you might like to do one more than the other. If you don't want to interact with anyone, just leave them both blank. So if you can go through and, well, if it sounds like you put another tick and then count up the ticks on each page. So just for the responding dimension, pages 17 and 18, please. Right, you're done. You're done. You're happy to share this? Everyone happy to share?
Yeah.
Okay. So Mihaela, how many did you have? How many ticks for reserved and how many for open?
I've put a lot of thought in the reserved, so I'm still there, and I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 half for the reserved, and
Yes.
I still need a bit of time for the open.
That's all right. We'll come back to you. Tudor,
Thanks.
what have you got? How many for reserved and how many for open?
I only finished for the open ones.
Sorry, you only.
I only finished for the open ones. I need to
Okay,
go
so you're still
to
going.
the
So
rivers.
I'll
Yeah,
give you a
yeah.
bit longer. That's fine. Sorry.
Thank you.
No problem. Thought everyone was pretty- I'll give you another couple of minutes. That's me wanting a faster pace, Jordan.
So direct.
Surely not.
Why was that never seen on the squash court?
Yeah, I prefer a slower pace there, clearly. Yeah.
I have 6 and 7.
Right.
6, 7.
Sorry, who was that?
But
Glad.
Vlad. So you've got 6 for reserved and 7 for open.
yeah,
All righty.
I got 4 reserved and 7 of them open.
So Cesar 4 reserved and 7 open. So that would put you a little bit more open than Vlad. What, if you like, on page 21 is the 2 dimensions. So if you want to record where you think you originally sat and where maybe where other people sat, then you can do that on page 21. Okay, Jordan, what do you got?
Also.
Oh, sorry, you finished. Well, we'll come back. Jordan, what do you got?
Of course.
I got 2 and 9.
So 2 reserved and 9 for open.
I definitely tick the doesn't use a lot of gestures or facial expressions.
it's just the way you are.
Yeah, that's right. Cut your arms off, you wouldn't be able to talk, right?
Probably not. I've been told that many times by Ellen most recently.
And most regularly. Yeah. Okay, so sorry, Tudor, what did you have?
6 on reserved and 5 on open.
Okay, so just on the reserve side, sort of just. Okay, Mihaela, are you finished?
Yes,
So-
I have
so-
6 reserved and 8 opened.
Okay, so more just on a bit more open.
Yeah.
That's fine. Who else have we got? Alex, what do you got?
I have 7 on reserved and 6 on
7 and 6.
open.
Okay, so you're just on the reserve side. And Ellen,
I had 3 and 10.
3 and 10, right?
Oh.
So you're over there on the right with Jordan, aren't you?
Yes.
That's probably not much of a surprise to you, is it? Okay, as I said, bearing in mind this is, so if you want to record it, you can put them on page 21. Bearing in mind this is still your self-perception. Okay, what I'd like you to do now is exactly the same thing, but with the influencing dimension, and that's on pages 19 and 20. So page 19 for indirect and page 20 for direct. Thank you.
I have like 3 for the indirects.
Yeah. So Vlad, what did you say? You had 3 for indirect?
Yeah.
And how many for direct?
I don't know, I think all.
You ticked them all. So is that 12, yeah?
Once.
Yeah. So it's a perfect score, mate.
So I'm 8. I'm exactly even. I'm 8 and 8, which
8 and
I'm
8.
like really surprised by.
Okay.
I would have
Yeah.
thought I would be on the far end of direct.
Okay.
Yeah, interesting because I mean I got 8 to indirect and 6 to direct, but
Right.
I thought that I'm more indirect.
8 and 6.
Have-
So it does just put you on the indirect side, doesn't it? But
Yeah, it's still
towards the middle, though.
indirect
Yeah.
side.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I have like 10.
10.
On direct.
Oh, is that flat? So you've got what?
Yeah.
3 for indirect and 10 for direct, Vlad, was it?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, Jordan, what do we got?
I got 8 and 9, which I wasn't expecting.
8 and 9. So just on the direct side, but you know, just a little bit over, right? Okay, you're in there. Okay.
4
is
to
everybody-
9.
Alex, yeah,
4
what do you
to
got?
8.
Pardon?
4 and 8.
4 and 8. Sorry, mate. 4. So 4 for indirect and 8 for direct. So that puts you on the in the direct side. Okay. Cesar, you finished? What have you got?
Yes, I got 6 and 7.
6 and 7. So again, just marginally on the direct side. And Mahela?
I have 11 and 2 until now on the direct side.
11 and 2, did you say?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that means you think you're quite indirect. Okay. Right. Well, kept a note of that, and we can, as I said, you can record where you think you first came on page 21 if you like. So I'll just explain now what we do. So if you turn to page 22, please. So what we do with these 2 dimensions is we intersect them. So we keep the influencing dimension on the horizontal, as you can see in the middle of the grid there, with indirect on the left and direct on the right. And we put the responding dimension on the vertical with open at the bottom and reserved at the top. So bearing in mind, reserved at the top is task focus. Open at the bottom is people focused. Indirect on the left is ask. Direct on the right is tell. What this then gives us is 4 sets of behaviors that everyone falls into. So the first top left, as you can see, it's analytical. That is people that influence in an indirect manner and respond in a reserved manner. Top right is driver, which is people that also respond in a reserved manner, but influence in a direct manner. Bottom left is amiable, where people influence in an indirect manner and respond in an open manner. And bottom right is expressive, which is direct and open. And you can probably work where you think you fit in these, and we will actually come back to that. What I'll go through now is go through and explain each of these 4 styles. And obviously the ones that are next to each other share 50% of their behaviors. So in other words, analyticals and drivers are both task focused. Amiables and expressive are both people focused. Analyticals and amiables are both indirect and tend to ask. Drivers and expressives tend to tell. Whereas the ones that are diagonally opposite each other share least behaviors. Now, one of the important things, probably the most important thing to remember with this, as I go through explaining each of these styles, I'm explaining the style in its purest form. So, in other words, if someone was 100% analytical or 100% driver, but the fact no one is, it would be, well, I guess someone of the 7 billion people on the planet could be, but it would be very unusual. It would mean for these ticks that you just did, you'd have had to have 12 for one and 0 for the other. And obviously no one's done that. So the style, the explanation is the style in its purest form. So where you think you might fit, you might think, yeah, that sounds like me. That sounds like me. That sounds like, oh, that doesn't sound like me. That's fine, because actually we're a mix of all 4, but probably with the predominance in one style. Does that sound okay? So I'm going to go through and explain each style, and in fact, I've put that on the next few pages. So the next few pages, the next 8 pages are about each of the 4 styles. So we'll read through the examining part together. So page 23 about the analytical. So analyticals, let me read this through you. They're detail oriented. So analyticals like a lot of facts, they like a lot of information, and they like a lot of data. They'll suck it all up. Anyone watch Star Trek? I know Jordan does. Watch Star Trek? Okay, Data, the android, very much the analytical, and you'll see that as you go through here. So analyticals are well organized. They'll listen and study information carefully before weighing all alternatives. They're happy to let others take the social initiative. Prefer an efficient business-like approach. Prefer information presented in a systematic manner. So in other words, well organized and so on. They're conservative and practical in business decisions. They rely on a structured approach and factual evidence. They're reserved, obviously. You won't see a lot of gestures from analyticals, quite the opposite of what we just talked about, Jordan. They're quite proper speech, formal posture and appearance, comfortable working by themselves and being alone. Their focus is on the task, so rather than on people. Can be uncomfortable in larger groups. They'll want to avoid conflict, and they want to be seen as the expert. And they like proof ahead of promises. So analyticals are people that will read instruction sheets on how to program a computer or a DVD player or whatever. They'll read every word of a loan agreement, probably. So they love this detail and they love soaking it up. The main motivator for the analytical is to be right. Because of all this drive for information, they particularly for all the things that they think they're expert in, that they want to be right about it. And actually, if you say to an analytical, I want this job done by Friday next week, or Friday this week, or whatever, When it gets to Friday, if the job's at 99% complete, they'll want to take another 3 or 4 days to finish it and get it 100% right. 99% is not good enough for analyticals. So with the other styles, it'd be more than good enough. But with the analytical, they'll want to take that extra few days to get it 100% right, because they're very much focused on the quality of their work and they want to be seen as the expert in what they do. If you want to just by yourselves have a read of page 24, there's just a bit more about the analytical. So just have a read of that and then we'll start on the next one.
What does dropping clangers mean?
Where's that? Dropping clangers means, oh, okay. They're focused on factoring. Dropping a clanger is making a big mistake.
Okay.
Right. A whopper.
Okay.
One thing to note, particularly with the strengths and weaknesses, and we'll find this in each one. Each of these styles has got strengths and weaknesses, but as we know, with human beings, we've all got strengths and weaknesses. Yeah, they might be different to what's in here, but everyone has got strengths and everyone's got weaknesses, and I think it's important to remember that. So, does anyone think they're an analytical? So. Let's see, based on what you said, Tudor, that would put you just in the analytical box, I think.
Yeah. Close
does
to.
that sound right? Or
I mean, yeah, kind of, especially right now because I just read all of those points, but
we're all a mix of 4, but it's where you've got predominance. I mean, you put yourself. It was only marginally in each of those. Having done a bit of work with you, I think you're probably a bit more amiable.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
To be honest.
Okay. When I read analytical and I see the weaknesses like judgmental and moralistic, focus on facts and data at the expense of relationships, like that's not you, Tudor, at all.
Yeah.
At all.
Great point. Yeah. Okay. Any questions about the analytical? Okay, nope. So let's move on then. So to the driver, and as we can see on page 22, as I said, the driver shares reserved or task-focused behaviour with the analytical, but they're direct in how they go about it. So drivers are businesslike, they're serious, their voice inflection varies little. Usually only to emphasize important points. They're results oriented. They're likely to take charge and take initiative. They like challenges and they'll make quick decisions, direct and to the point. They've got strong opinions and convictions, hardworking, efficient, confident and competent. Productively coordinates the work of others, likely to challenge new ideas, quick to respond. Because remember the 2 styles, drive and expressive, the 2 styles on the right, like a quicker pace rather than a slower pace. Inclined to correct, modify, or add to the ideas of others. They're very straightforward. They make things happen. They dislike inaction and inactivity. They're task focused, obviously, and they want facts, proof, and options. So with the driver,
Vlad. Hello, Vlad.
You, Vlad.
100%.
Yeah, I would say the same, to be honest.
He doesn't look like a driver down there, but I'm only kidding. I'm only kidding. I need a smiley emoji, Ellen, don't I? Anyway, so with drivers, here's some of the main things about drivers. They, if it means getting the job done, they're prepared to put relationships at risk. So in other words, if there's a task that needs to be completed over there, the driver will stand on relationships or risk damaging relationships if it means getting the job done. They also they can be quite controlling, and it's one of the things working with drivers. Drivers find it very hard to let go control. And in fact, if you've got a friend starts a new job, and they say to you, or you say to them, what's your boss like? And they say something like, well, yeah, she's fine, but actually she's maybe a bit of a control freak. They're probably a driver. Remember, we're talking about the style in its purest form now with all of these, as if you were a 100% driver. The other thing, where is it in here? Sorry. Yeah, voice inflection varies little, only to emphasize important points. Now, the other thing with drivers is, if I'm a driver and you work for me, I will raise my voice if it means getting across to you how important I think this is, because I want you to realize how important this is. And it won't be emotional. Drivers are very controlled, so they won't be going off on one or getting emotional. But you might hear things like, if you can hear me, that will be on my desk by 5 o'clock. And the eye contact can be absolutely piercing. That will be done by 5 o'clock. Because again, it's not ranting and raving, but it's trying to get you to understand how important this is. Okay, again, if you want to just have a read of some more explanations of the driver on page 26, if you would. Any further thoughts with that?
I think one of the things I really like about the breakdown of the different styles are the common misconceptions and the reality, because I think that drivers in particularly, they suffer from misconceptions.
Yes.
And it's one of the ones that suffers the most, in my opinion, because they can be so like, no, we're going here now, that it can be seen as callous or unfeeling, or as someone who doesn't care about other people, and there's nothing to do with it. It's not even, it's got nothing to do with it.
Yeah, man. Thank you.
Yeah, sometimes, but it really, I think that's one of the perception problems for drivers, is that people think, oh God, this guy hates me, or this guy doesn't care about what I think, or who I am. It's like, no, not even, it probably likes you very much and cares very much about you, but that's not the point. That's not what we're doing right now. And I think
they want to help you achieve the result. Yeah, definitely. And I think, often when I'm, running this in a group, no one wants to be a driver, because exactly what you're saying, Jordan, that, they think it's kind of bad, and it's not. All of these styles have strengths and weaknesses. I think the thing about the driver is it's so visibly obvious, if you like, whereas with the others, they may be not quite so obvious. I think that's That's maybe the difference. So the main motivator for the driver is results. So, and I would say, if we talk about managers, if we talk about sales managers, so in other words, someone in charge of sales, and I know that's a little bit different for your business, but drivers will often make the best sales managers if they've got good interpersonal skills because of that drive for results. But, you know, they have to have good interpersonal skills, clearly. Okay, so any questions on the driver? So the top two styles are less emotional. The bottom two styles are more emotional. So I've been coaching a guy in another client who's just started reporting to the general manager, who was a driver. And this guy's an amiable, Peter his name is. And I've said to him, right, Peter, what you don't want to do is to go to the GM and say, oh, I feel this, or, you know, because actually they don't care how you feel. So if you're dealing with a driver, stick to the facts and stick to stuff that can be proven. So keep emotions out of it. Okay, so the amiable. So amiable's bottom left, and it's they're indirect in how they influence, and they're open in how they respond. So you'll see these bottom two styles. The top two, I think you can see, are more task focused. Bottom two are more people focused. And of course, the amiable shares indirect behavior with the analytical and shares open behavior with the expressive. So the amiable, they're quiet and they're unassuming, very supportive, warm, friendly, and open. They've got relaxed posture, slower speech, as you'd expect, because remember the influencing dimension, if you're indirect, you like a slower pace. Open and eager facial expressions. They're easy to get along with. They enjoy personal contact. They like to share responsibility. They're concerned about collaboration, providing support, and reaching agreement. They require extensive data for decision making. First to have consensus before moving ahead. Often focuses on personal ties before goals. Results come through people working together. They make great coaches and counselors. They like harmony above all else, and they're exceptionally loyal and supportive. So for the amiable, the main motivator is harmony. So amiable's like the water being smooth, you know, without anything upsetting it. And they're like everyone getting on and no conflict. And in fact, the amiable, if you're an amiable in your team, they'll often be the one that buys birthday cards or gifts, farewell presents, and so on. I've got to tell you, Susan, my partner, is very much an amiable, and she's been doing contract work. She's an internal communications specialist. Anyway, she's been doing contract work, and she was with Sky TV for about 3 months, and she was buying someone a farewell present. She's only a contractor, for God's sake. That won't surprise you, Jordan. Jordan knows it. So, you know, love harmony, love everyone getting on, and they're very kind-hearted. So again, if you want to have a read of the next page about the amiable, page 24.
Interesting. I mean, Jordan told me that I'm amiable before. Actually, 1 month ago or something like that. We had like a small talk about the social styles, and he told me that I'm really 100% amiable. And now I
Yeah,
can't.
but you never got me any presents or anything.
Yeah, exactly. I was thinking about those presents. Fuck, I did it wrong. No worries, Vlad. Next year.
But the thing to remember, we are what we are, and there's no right or wrong place to be. I know I've repeated this a lot, but I absolutely mean it, because you know what you don't want to become is something that you're not. Because if we think back to Moravian, you try to be something you're not, your words and your body language aren't gonna match, and you'll end up in all sorts of trouble. So you are what you are, and that's fine. But it's better to be more flexible when dealing with others, other than less flexible.
Makes sense.
So any other thoughts on the amiable, other than it appears like Tudor is one? But any other thoughts? Okay, so the final style is the expressive, which, as you can see, is direct in how they influence and open in how they respond. So if you have a look at page 29, expressives are energetic. They're enthusiastic to be around. They can be highly emotional. They like a fast pace, comfortable taking the social initiative. In fact, not just comfortable, but often will prefer to take the social initiative. They engage freely in friendly conversation before tackling tasks. They're futuristic, like where's this leading? They're intuitive, willingly share ideas, insights, streams, and visions. They're a risk taker. They're very competitive. That's not right, Jordan, is it? Spirited, creative and innovative, enthusiastic. They like an audience. They're ambitious. The voice is loud and varied, fast-paced and lively. Get results through people, and they seek to be highly visible and stand out from the crowd, to be unique and show leadership. And they're happy with promises. So a few things there. Where the analytical wants proof, and the driver wants proof as well. The expressive is happy with promises. You know, if you're promising something, I mean, you better deliver, clearly. The main motivator for the expressive is to be distinctive. And by that, I mean, they like to stand out from the crowd. So a good example of that is, so the driver's happy achieving results, you know, whatever the result, whether it be sales results or the results of finishing a project on time and on budget, or whatever the result might be, the driver's happy just achieving the result. The expressive, like all the other styles, want to achieve results as well, and so does the expressive, but the expressive wants to achieve the results with style and with panache, and in a way that no one's done it before. So just achieving the result, just achieving the numbers is not enough for the expressive. They want to be seen as being completely different and distinctive. Likewise with this conflict thing. So whereas we've said amiables hate conflict, analyticals try to avoid it. No one likes conflict, but because drivers and expressives are direct, they'll deal with it and get on with it, whereas analyticals and amiables will tend not to. And we'll talk about that a bit more in a minute. The other thing with expressives is they're great ideas people. They'll have hundreds of ideas, but they're lousy finishers. So if you go to an expressives desk, you'll often see 6 or 8, 10 piles of stuff that they've started, but that they've not finished, because expressives tend to get bored with things very easily. Okay, if you want to have a read of that final page, page 30, if you would, just about expressives.
I mean, this just reads like the diagnostic criteria for ADHD.
Yeah.
I mean, I can see Jordan here, right? 100%.
Was Jordan got ADHD? Is that what you're saying? I'm only kidding.
Yeah.
That's what he was saying.
it's funny that I've got a she's not a client, she's a networking contact in Glasgow, and she's her name is Jacqueline. Jack and her husband Gordon are both extremely analytical. They've got a son and a daughter. The son is also very analytical. The daughter, Eve, is very expressive. And they've had her at doctors and so on. You know, they think there's something wrong with her because she's so different to the other three. And I've said to Jack, I think she's just extremely expressive. I don't think there's anything wrong with her. It's just that she's so different to the rest of you.
I mean, analytical in its purest form reads like autism spectrum disorder, and expressive at the far end reads like attention deficit.
Definitely. And that's what I'm saying. You know, if someone was 100% of one of these, that's maybe what you'd end up with. But,
Right.
you know, we do have a predominance in one area, obviously. So any thoughts on any of that? We'll have a look at where you all think you are in just a moment. We've had a look at Tudor. We'll have a look at everybody else. Any thoughts on the whole thing?
I particularly like the, as I said, for all of them, the misconceptions and reality, because from a management of people point of view and from a building relationships point of view, it's those things that tend to get us stuck.
Yeah.
And understanding those help us to unstick ourselves from that and build those relationships better.
Yeah, and you know, understand what hilltop they're coming from and where they sit and so on. Expressives will often use humor, but a lot of the time when they use humor, it's kind of inappropriate. I don't mean that it's, you know, dirty or anything like that, but it's just actually the wrong time to be telling jokes often. So. Okay, so where did you all sit? You've probably worked it out. So what do we have? So Hala, you were quite indirect and you were open. So that would put you in amiable. How does that sound?
You are
Sorry, I was muted. Yeah, I find myself in that description there.
Yeah. So most of the aspects of amiable sort of apply to you, you think?
Yeah, most of them.
Okay.
Indeed.
Great.
And people tell me that I am a bit too sensitive sometimes.
Right. Okay. So everybody else, you think Mihaela would sit into the amiable category?
Yes, I agree.
Okay. So Tudor we've talked about. Alex, you were just reserved and direct. So that would put you into the driver category?
I think
can
Alex,
be sometimes, yeah.
if I may, Alex,
Please.
Alex, I believe from my point of view, it's falling to for the expressive in some ways,
right?
if it makes sense.
No, man, fuck off.
We're going for a goal here, apparently, and Vlad's
Yeah.
decided we need to get there.
No, he's not at all expressive. What do you mean? I know him. He's my best friend in my whole life.
Right. So and what you're saying he's a driver, Vlad?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and that would be my impression as well. I think.
Actually, I messed up that. It was analytical.
Yeah, analytical, yeah.
Analytical.
I'll be honest, I put Alex right smack in the middle between driver and analytic.
Yeah.
Me too.
Yeah.
Me too.
It was analytical, not sorry. I
Not
had the last
expressive,
one.
right.
Yeah, not expressive. No, analytical.
Okay, so who else have we got? We've got Ellen. Ellen, you were quite open and quite. And just,
I mean,
you're in the middle, weren't you?
mine put me in the middle between amiable and expressive, but
Yeah.
which was fascinating to me reading these, because I see myself as halfway between driver and expressive. I see myself on that side. So it was weird to even rate on the amiable, because I don't resonate with that.
Okay, and you know, these ticks, it's just it really is a quick and dirty way of working out where you sit. So it's not, we're going to do a more formal questionnaire shortly. So that's fine. Okay, so where do you feel more expressive, Ellen? Is that what you're saying, or?
Well, yeah, I would see myself as between expressive and driver, but if I had to choose one, I would choose expressive.
Right. Okay. You're certainly direct, aren't you?
Yes, I think so. I mean, there's a little bit inside. You guys don't know. I got some mystery going on here.
No. Dear. So Cesar, you were open and direct, so that would put you in expressive.
Yep.
How do you feel about that?
I would also feel a bit of a driver, but not with not in the actual sense of a leader. I don't feel myself as a good leader. However, I like getting things done, but
Right.
also working for the people. So I'm kind of in the middle.
Right. Well, if you look at the descriptions of the driver, it's not all about leadership. You can be independent and dislike inaction and inactivity and these sorts of things. So that's absolutely fine. And so, Vlad, you had you as where are you? You're quite direct and.
Is there a question?
I had you as open.
Yeah, no doubt on that. I mean.
So that would put Vlad into the expressive, but I think we're saying he's a driver. Is that what we're?
Oh,
Yeah.
I have the best of all worlds. Sometimes I like to be expressive, but for real, sometimes I really like being expressive.
Yeah.
But most of the times I don't.
Particularly when he's telling us what to do.
Yeah.
I can see a bit of expressiveness in you, though.
Yeah, it is. And I, especially in the past, like 5 to 6 years, I like being amiable.
Right.
Yeah, but I would say
amiable.
Amiable,
yeah.
Well,
I couldn't say that, to be honest, but anyway.
And I'm fucking analytical sometimes, and I'm certainly a driver.
Right.
Well, because like Brendan, you said before, like when Jordan was talking about like the misconceptions that the driver suffers the most, and you had talked about that you would coach somebody, don't bring your feelings to this person, because they don't care. Like, that's not Vlad. I can go to Vlad and be like, I'm stressed out about this, whatever, and he's not going to be like he's not going to freak out at that. He's going to tell me you overreact.
I'm going to fly to New York, actually. Yeah, I'm very, yeah.
You're gonna no, but he's like, don't worry, we got it. It's not like weird, like he doesn't freak out that I am emotional. So
and actually that's right. So if I was forgetting it's Vlad for a moment, but if I was that scenario I gave you with my client, if I was coaching the general manager who's a driver, I'd say, this Peter isn't amiable, so do a bit of the social chit chat and be more people focused with him, and that's what being flexible is all about, and we're going to talk about that shortly. So last and certainly not least, Mr. Fleming. So you're in the expressive box.
Yes.
Yeah. How do you feel about that?
Perfectly comfortable.
Tell us your feelings. That's what you're supposed
He's
to
a bit of a driver also.
I actually totted up the ticks on each page out of my own curiosity, because I've never done it like this. And I had 2 in analytic. I had 4 in amiable. So clearly I'm a prick. I had 14 in driver and 20 in expressive.
Right.
Oh, that's such an interesting way to do it. I want to do that.
And it's if you want, you can do that now, or you can do it afterwards if you like. But it is, and it just confirms that we are a mix of all 4 styles. So does that everyone see Jordan as an expressive?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah, I definitely see the drive. I see the driver part too, though.
Yeah, I see the driver part.
Especially when it's like product development and coming up with new ideas for like ways to evolve the product and stuff. Like he's
Yeah.
definitely a driver with that
I
stuff.
agree.
And
Yep,
he's
and
been
this-
bossing us around since like some time now. What to do, when to do.
So
That's okay.
Shame it doesn't work.
what do you all think I am?
Expressive.
Expressive,
Awesome.
yeah.
Expressive and driver.
I'm
Yeah,
very expressive.
I mean, I found that out because you are making the jokes.
Good, I'm a funny guy. I can't help it.
You could say, I'm going to pull the Vlad card. I've known Brendan for 10 years. He's expressive.
Yeah.
And it's interesting. I think, you know, Jordan and I used to play squash together, and we've had some doozies of arguments, haven't we? You know, but
I remember
one of us
Brendan, Susan watched us. Brendan's partner, Susan, watched us play once. And when she didn't know me very well, I don't think. And she, after the match, she was like, I thought you liked Jordan. And because the two of us were going hammer and tongs at each other, grinding each other off, hitting, like coming close, you know, getting in arguments, real arguments on the court. And then afterwards, of course, we didn't even think anything of it. It wasn't even a question.
go and have a beer, you know. Exactly. There's times when I've actually fired the ball straight at you. Anyway. So anyway, okay, right. Let's move on a little bit. One of the things, if we think back to Moravian, you know, if we're going to work with people based on what style they are, we probably want to try to get it right. You know, it was pretty obvious. So on page 31, we've got a bit about body language, eye contact, and speech. And there's been some clues in the previous pages about what each style will look like. So let's just go through them quickly. So for an analytical, what's their body language, eye contact, and speech going to look like?
Eye contact won't be much.
Yeah, reserved.
Yeah, it won't be
Body
much.
language won't be much either.
Yeah. Yeah, and not much facial expression either. So I think with analyticals, if so I've got my workbook here, if that's the task, there'll be a level of eye contact because people know they've kind of got to make eye contact with people, but it'll be mainly looking at the task that's in front of them and looking down at the task. Gestures. You see an analytical making gestures?
Not too many.
No.
Not many, yeah.
Very
that
few,
much.
if any. Very few, if any. Speech.
Measured.
Wouldn't
Kind of.
say a lot.
Not a lot, just
Not a lot.
barely.
Yeah. And what you get will be slow and deliberate because analyticals want to be right. Remember, we said they want to be seen as the expert, and their main motivator is to be right. So they want to make sure anything they're saying is correct information. So they'll take their time and be slow and deliberate about it. Make sense? Okay, the driver then, body language, eye contact, and speech.
Eye contact, piercing.
Piercing, it can be absolutely piercing, absolutely. I normally, when I'm doing this on a face-to-face basis, I pick on someone and go up and do this if I'm a driver. So abs can be absolutely piercing. Body language.
I think they have quite some body language.
Some.
Yeah, it can be. It can be quite dominating or aggressive. So almost, depending on whether they want something, you know, done by a certain time, it might invade your space. So, you know, we're all happy with, I don't know, a meter or something around it. So it might be invading your space. It could also be, as I said before, a bit of tapping. That will be on my desk by 5 o'clock. We'll see a bit of this going on. And their speech can be, you know,
Forceful.
Forceful, absolutely, but not a lot of words. So, and they'll leave you quite clear as to what is required. So this is what's required. It'll be bang, bang, bang. It's almost like talking in dot points. So you are left under no illusion as to what's required. And we'll talk about the styles in conflict in a moment, but in conflict, the driver, if the driver doesn't think you're getting the importance of this task, they will raise their voice. That will be on my desk by 5 o'clock. Now, it's not ranting and raving, right? That's one of the other styles, but it will be all of it's based to make you understand how important this task is. Okay, amiable, body language, eye contact and speech.
Soft and soft.
Softer, yeah. Warm and friendly and open and welcoming. Eye contact?
Reserved, not that much.
Not as much, that's right. But a level of eye, it's interesting this.
Depends on the situation.
It does, but amiables want to keep everyone involved and keep everyone happy. So that there is. I'll give Susan, my partner, as an example. We were out with 2 other couples a couple of years ago, and we were in a pub beforehand, and Susan was telling a story, and I'm going to do this with each of you on here, but she was actually looking at each person and holding eye contact for 2 or 3 seconds before moving on to the next person. And each person would have felt that they were having a one-to-one with her. And I was looking at her, and I said this afterwards, and she said, "Oh, I didn't even know I was doing it," because it just comes so natural. But it's everyone, it's keeping everyone involved, and it's making everyone feel comfortable. And that is the main motivator for the amiable.
Mm-hmm.
And does that sound like you, Tino?
Yeah. Interesting.
In fact, I can't believe how much it does sound like it.
Yeah, I mean, if you put the perspective in from an outside point of view, it's interesting to see it. Like you said, Susan, your wife doesn't even know that she's doing it.
Yeah, exactly. I will say, and this is a very expressive thing to say, but we're not married, and if you ever meet her, don't be giving her ideas.
Oh, sorry, yeah.
No, using inappropriate humor. So, and the speech will be slower and deliberate, but it'll be warmer.
Yes.
Not but, whereas the analyticals is factual.
But at the same time, for example, for my team, of course I want everyone to be happy and everyone to have the attention needed. But if the person is from my outside group, or I don't really care, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is
the same thing, right? Yeah.
This came more from.
Well, it's all about human behavior, and I mean, you're not.
Yeah.
Do we behave differently at work than we do at home? Yes, we probably do, but actually, we don't become a different person at home. Like,
of course.
If I'm an expressive at work, I don't become an analytical at home, or vice versa. But yeah, I do think you probably moderate your behavior a bit.
Yeah.
Let's just finish off the expressive body language, eye contact, and speech.
A lot.
You said before, like,
a lot of all of it.
Yeah.
So I often have to think, just sit on your hands, stop waving your hands, and it's something that I'm quite conscious of. So eye contact.
Yes.
Yeah. Fairly direct, but it can also be distracting, because expressives tend to have a lot going on in their heads, expressive eye contact, as I'm doing now, might be looking at not so much in my office here, but if we're in an open meeting room or a coffee shop, be darting around, because expressives don't want to miss anything. So if you're an expressive, try not to do it. But if you're talking to an expressive, don't assume they're not listening, because there's a 95% chance they will, even though their eye contact's all over the place. Speech. Fast, yeah, and can be quite loud, and can be quite excitable.
Yes.
Flapping. You can imagine the 2 of us together. Anyway, okay. Right, where are we up to? Right, if you have a look at the next page, page 32, it's just a summary of the whole thing. So I'll get you to read through it. So probably it's not a bad idea to do what Jordan did with the other descriptors. So where you see all those ticks on page 32, if it sounds like you, put another tick to it. If it doesn't, leave it blank. And also that will serve as kind of a summary of the whole thing as well.
Am venit fetele, ce? So, Brandon, we have to tick on the.
Yeah, if it's something that sounds like you, just put another tick there.
At
If it's
32.
something that's not, just leave it blank.
I mean, PDF, I can't tick.
You just do it on a separate, maybe a separate bit of paper or something. Yeah.
You can draw on it, Vlad. I do that.
Yeah.
You should have an option to draw on it.
I have another meeting starting in a few minutes, so I'll take a short break and I'll have to leave you for this session, okay?
No problems, Alex. No problems. Thanks very much. It's been great to see you again.
Bye,
And,
Alex. Take care.
Have any questions
Bye,
on
Alex.
it? Give me a yell. Yep.
Yeah, and I have a bit of an issue.
Right. Any further thoughts on that? Did you come up anywhere differently than you thought you were going to be, or does that seem about right?
Seems about right for me. Now I'm more on the amiable side of it.
So get more ticked on the amiable side. Yep. Yep.
Yeah.
That's fine.
Yep.
Mahela, how about you? Amiable as well?
Yes, I have a few things from the analytical too.
Right.
One for the driver.
Right. Okay. Vlad, how about you?
I don't know. I have a bit of an emergency.
You've got an emergency. Right.
Yeah.
Okay. No problems at all. Cesar, how about you?
I put more on the driver's side, and then I put 9 on the driver's side, and then 5 on the expressive.
And you said that earlier, whilst you came up as expressive, that you felt you might be more of a driver as well, didn't you?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Ellen?
So when I went through all the ticks, I came out between the driver and expressive, but more towards expressive.
Right.
Which feels right.
Which that's certainly how I'd see you, as being more expressive. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Jordan?
Well, I did the first tick, so I didn't do it again.
Right. Okay. And give into it, mate. Okay. Right. So what we're going to talk about just before we do that, the next 4 pages, there's a few more descriptors. I'm not going to get you to go through them. If you like, you can have a look at them afterwards. So there's more stuff on the analytical on page 34, driver page 35, amiable page 36, expressive page 37. So you can just go through them at your leisure if you want to study more of them. I've got to say that little graphic on page 37 with the expressive, with the head being full of numbers and letters, and they're just spewing out stuff. That is how I feel a lot of the time. Honestly, Do you feel like that, Jordan?
Well, obviously.
What's obvious? Why is it obvious? So I'm actually going to get a T-shirt made up at some stage that says "It's not my fault. I'm an expressive." Right? So, I'll send you one, Ellen, when I get it done. So what I'd like to talk about now is behaviour when under pressure. So if you turn to page 38, like a bit of South Park. Do you get South Park in Romania?
Yep.
Oh, good. So like a bit of South Park. So when there is increased relationship tension, most people tend to retreat deeper and deeper into their behavioural comfort zones. They begin to exhibit inflexible, less versatile versions of the behaviours normally associated with their social style. So what it's saying is each style basically goes further back into its box, if you like. So as I said at the bottom, analytical will become more reserved and more indirect. Drivers will become more reserved but more direct. Amiables more indirect, more open, and expressives more open and more direct. So explains this on the next page, but it's actually to do with, I guess, going back to prehistory. If human beings were confronted by danger, they had the choice of fight or flight. So fight to confront the danger, or flight to retreat to safety. So the two styles on the left, so analyticals and amiables, will take flight. The two styles on the right will fight. And that exacerbates itself like this. So analyticals, and I don't just mean pressure for a minute or two, but if it's sustained pressure for any period of time, analyticals will try to avoid it. So I think we've probably got, yeah, I've got that word on the next page, if you're page 39. So an analytical will try to avoid it. So in other words, if an analytical's under pressure, you'll hear things like, I haven't got time to look at that now, we'll look at it later. Or, look, talk to me about it next week. So they'll defer it, they'll put it off. Drivers will become more demanding. So you'll hear stuff like, no, you're not hearing me. That will be on my desk by 5 o'clock. Okay, more. Again, not ranting and raving necessarily, because it'll be controlled, but it's trying to get you the message that this needs to be done. Okay. Amiables will concede. And by that, I mean, they will not just avoid it, but actually will give in to whatever you say. So they'll say, oh, I'm really sorry about that. I won't let it happen again, even if it's not their fault. I've often, well, not often, sometimes if I'm selling to an amiable, another client, and they're not the overall decision maker, we'll often have an agreement, and this is how we're going to go ahead. But by the time I've got back to my office, I've got an email or a voicemail saying, sorry, I've had a chat to my boss, and we can't go ahead with it, because amiables don't like the upfront conflict. They might think it's conflict if they have to tell me sort of to my face. Finally, the expressive will go on the attack, and that attacking can involve, it can be highly emotional, and it can involve name calling. And it's something that I know personally, I really do try not to do, but I find it hard not to do it at times. So it's highly emotional. The two styles at the bottom are the more emotional styles, as we've said. If we look at the amiable, if they're under pressure or under conflict, they'll be saying, it's back to Moravian's words and body language. So the amiable will be saying, yeah, this sounds really good, Brendan, looking forward to it, blah, blah, blah. But actually, if you look at their body language, it's probably not matching. They're probably anxious about it or whatever. And that's under pressure, that gets exaggerated, as it does with all the behaviors. With the expressives, it's the same, but actually, because they're direct, they'll tell you about it, and they'll tell you in no uncertain terms. So if you just want to have a read of pages 39 and 40, please, and then we'll, which just kind of confirms that.
Wait, Brandon, what page did you said? 13?
Pages 39 and 40, please.
Okay.
Sorry.
No worries.
That's I can't believe you're doing this to me. I'm holding you personally responsible. Honestly, the number of times I've said that, and even as I'm saying it, I'm thinking, you're a complete dickhead. Why are you saying this? It's not helpful, you know. Anyway, any thoughts on that? Behavior under pressure? Does that feel right for you guys?
Makes sense. And
Yeah.
I believe that they are good examples.
Okay. I've got to say that talking about South Park, I think my favorite episode of South Park was the one where they were going to nuke Canada.
I know it.
It's a good
watched
one.
almost every series.
I was thinking there. I actually don't think that my under pressure is very expressive.
Okay, so how do you behave under pressure then, Jordan?
Well, I certainly don't say. I don't think in my life I've ever said I'm holding you personally responsible. I suppose. No, maybe it is. I suppose I just don't tend to do that at work. At work, I try to be very measured with how I respond to people.
Yes.
But in my personal life, actually, I probably do go for the kill. No, that's probably that's probably true. But in my professional life, I really, I hope I don't tend to go after people very much at all. I don't.
And I would say I never do, but that's we've probably learned not to, Jordan. You know, I probably did when I was in my 20s. You know, and I think that's you modifying your behaviour, I think, possibly. Okay, what I'd like you to do now, if you look at page 41, it's a questionnaire on plotting your style. So I'm just going to get you to complete this. It's a more formal way of where you think you fit on the responding and influencing dimension. So let me just read the instructions through with you. You'll find two sets of questions below, which will help you determine where you think you sit on the responding and influencing dimensions. In each of the sets of questions, there are two groups of words. If you think the word on the left reflects your style, circle 1. If you think the word on the right reflects your style, circle 10. If you think you're somewhere in between, put wherever you think you are, but try not to put too many 5s and 6s. It's all right, put 1 or 2 is okay, but not too many. When you have finished up, add up the circles and write the score at the bottom of each section. So you should get a score for responding and a score for influencing. So let's just look at the first line, formal and informal. So formal would be if you like a set of rules to follow and you like following the rule book and you're quite structured in how you follow it, then you'd probably be 1 or 2. If you're just happy to wing it, then you'd probably be, you know, and not follow rules, you'd probably be a 9 or a 10. So if you can go through and do that, and if you can add up the scores for responding and for influencing, please.
Requires me to add.
You what?
Requires me to add.
You have a calculator on your phone.
You can use your calculator on your phone.
Eating.
When you've done that, and no rush, whenever you're ready, you can transpose your scores onto the next page, page 42. So depending on what the score for responding, as you can see, the scales from 0 to 100, and influencing the same 0 to 100. So if you can transpose the scores on there, and then you can plot where you are on the grid.
I'm done.
Yeah.
So for the responding, I got, actually, let me look. Oh, 56.
56. Right.
That will put me on.
So if you put it on the
Open.
grid, then for 50, if you put 56, so that's just to the right of where the 50 number is.
Mm-hmm.
That's 50. And what did you get for influencing?
39.
39. So that's just over halfway along.
Same score as me.
We are so close.
You're not copying, are you? You're not, how can you be copying?
No.
I'm only kidding. Okay. So if we look at, we'll go through everybody's. So Tudor was what, 56 and 39, was it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So 56, if you plot it onto the grid, that gets you just below the halfway line on open.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
then influencing gets you about a third of the way along. So that puts you in the top right-hand corner of the amiable box.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
That sounds about right.
Okay. Mahela, what do you got?
I have
what are your numbers?
55 for responding.
Yes.
And 37 for influencing.
So it's almost exactly the same as Tudor. So that'll
Yeah.
be in almost exactly the same spot. But again, it's where you thought you were in amiable.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Do you guys work together at all,
or? Not that much, not directly, but we always have like meetings. Like I would say, not even one-to-one, but we have like management meetings or personal meetings, or if we need to schedule something, even some. We only have quite a few meetings regarding
work well together.
And yeah. I would say so. Quite well, yeah.
Cesar, what were your numbers, Cesar?
It's a good listener.
Yeah, so I got 83 on the responding side,
right,
and 39 on the influencing.
83 and 39. So 83, you're right on the open end, and 39 indirect. So 83 gets you down there, and 39. So again, that puts you in the amiable box. Is that where you thought you were? No, it wasn't. Where did you think you were?
Driver and expressive.
Right. So that puts you, now remembering this is your self-analysis again. So any thoughts on that?
I don't know. It's interesting to see these numbers. I feel like a mixture of all things.
Yeah.
Not
Yeah.
We all are.
necessarily one group. Yeah.
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 So you were totally right when you said that everyone is different. Yeah.
Yeah, sure. Ellen, what do you got?
I got 68 and 77.
68 and 77. So that will put you in expressive.
Expressive, but sort of just in, yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
Yep.
So that sounds right for you?
Yep.
Yep. Jordan?
I got 86 and 82.
86 and 82, which puts you quite deep into the expressive style, which I think is pretty accurate. Now, as we said, with this, self-perception can be as little as 1/3 accurate. So what can be, we're not going to do this today, but if you want to do it, and you're in Romania at the moment, Jordan, you said. So I've sent you the questionnaire and the plot and the graph there. I've sent that in a separate file when the emails went out. What you can do to get accurate feedback from other people, you need to get at least 3 responses. So I know, Ellen, I know you're in New York, but you could get other people to complete the form on you. And if you get at least 3 people to do it, all you do then is average them out. So in other words, if you get 3 people responding, add the 3 lots of scores together and then divide them by 3. So I think it's a good idea to do with each other or with your teams or whatever, or people that know.
Okay, perfect. Sounds
Okay.
good.
Can you please say it one more time? What
Yeah.
do they got to do to give us the feedback? They got to.
Yes. Yeah, certainly. So you need to get you get it from at least 3 people, Cesar. So
Okay.
as they say, if you get it from at least 3 people, it's a good chance it will be accurate. If you get it only from one person, then if you don't get on with them that well, it might not be that accurate, you know. But if you get it from 3, it should be reasonably accurate. So all you do is that form, give them the questionnaire. So the questionnaire that you've just completed, give them that, and get them to complete it on you. And then when you get the 3 forms back, add the 3 lots of scores together, and then divide them by 3. And then you come up with the 2 scores again and plot yourself on the graph. And that will be how other people see you. I think it's a good idea to do that.
Yeah, very good idea.
Any further thoughts on that? Okay, we're just going to talk about
Sounds good.
behavioral flexibility for the last 10 minutes or so. So if you turn to page 43, so I'll read the definition at the top, but it's kind of a bit wordy, and then I'll explain what it means. So behavioral flexibility is defined as the ability to adapt both interpersonal dimensions, so in other words, responding and influencing, to meet the interaction preferences of others. And this is the one place where it's better to be one thing rather than another. So it's better to be more flexible than less flexible. So, and I liken this to, but what you don't want to do is to become something that you're not. So in other words, as I've said, I'm very expressive. If I tried to become an analytical, it just wouldn't work. You know, it's getting back to Moravian, my body language wouldn't match the words and so on. So, so it's not about becoming something you're not. It's about adapting both dimensions, but within your comfort zone. And I liken it to, if you think of an old-fashioned radio, so the one, not a digital one, but the one with dials. So you put it on the station, it might be what, 97.3 megahertz or whatever. But you put it on 97.3 and it's kind of fuzzy, or it might be even dipping in and out. So, oh, well, it's not on the station. If you then turn the dial half a revolution, you'd be as far away from the station as you could possibly get. But if you turn it 1 millimeter, you might get perfect reception. Right, well, this behavioral flexibility is about the 1 millimeters. It's not about becoming something you're not. It's about adapting your behavior based on the other person. So before we look at this, if you go back to the grid, if you can imagine then, so if I'm very if I am very expressive, so I'm direct and I'm open. So if I'm working with an analytical, I should try to be less open and less direct. So in other words, more reserved, so more task focused. So I should do, if I'm with an analytical, make sure that I'm sticking to the facts, make sure I've got my facts well organized. Also be more indirect. So in other words, slow down. And in fact, particularly if I'm trying to sell to analyticals and amiables, I consciously try to slow down because I like a fast pace. Take a deep breath, slow down, and take it slowly. But likewise then, if an analytical's working with me, they should try to be more direct and more open. So do a bit more of the chit chat and be a bit more direct. I'm picking on the styles opposite each other, obviously. If we look at the driver and amiable then, so the driver, when dealing with an amiable, so amiables will often think that the drivers are quite demanding and don't like how they communicate. And what I would say is, for amiables to talk to drivers, they need to be a bit more direct and a bit more task focused. But that's quite difficult for amiables to do. But it's how drivers communicate. So you can say, well, actually, if I was to say that to a driver, I think I'd be a bit rude. But actually, you're not, because that's how they communicate. They are direct and they are clipped in how they communicate. But likewise, drivers dealing with amiables need to do more of the chit chat and need to show patience and slow down a bit. So that's just some examples. And likewise, expressives. I'm an expressive. If I'm working with a driver, expressives and drivers both share direct behavior. I think we often think that drivers are the only direct style, but they're not. Expressives are direct as well. But if I'm working with a driver, I'll actually try to be really focused on work. Now, everyone knows they've got to do a bit of chit chat, but actually drivers like getting down to work as quickly as they can. In fact, I used to, years ago when I worked for a training company in Sydney, I had a client in Melbourne who was an extreme driver, and I'd go and see him. And in the end, I got used to saying, "Hello, John, today's agenda is." And my inner voice would be screaming at me, "You haven't asked him how he is. You're so rude," but actually that's how he communicated, and he'd be absolutely fine with it. And the interesting thing was, if you're with a driver and the meeting goes a lot shorter than you thought it would, that's fine, because as soon as the drivers got out of the meeting what they want out of it, they're happy for it to end. And not only that, they'll often do the chit chat at the end of the meeting. So this guy, John, down in Melbourne, he'd walk me out to the lift and he'd say, "So Brendan, are you down for a few days? And where are you staying?" And all this. He'd do all the chit chat at the end, which kind of totally did my head in, to be honest. But so it's just how people are different, and where they are. So if we go back to page 43, underline, we'll do this together. Underline any of the following statements that you think represent high levels of flexibility. So I've underlined being flexible when dealing with others, which is kind of pretty damn obvious. Actively listening to people, does that represent high levels of flexibility? Yes, definitely. Showing empathy. Yep. My way or the highway?
Nope.
Absolutely not. No. Asking questions?
Yep.
Sure.
Yep. Asking questions to help you understand. Trusting?
Yep.
Yep. Cooperative?
Yeah.
I'd say, it's interesting with these two, trusting and cooperative. It's a pity Vlad and Alex have both gone, because they'd probably challenge that, because actually they'd say, well, you can trust people. What if they don't deliver? Well, if they don't deliver, then you've got another discussion to have. But I think in terms of being flexible, I think they are generally signs that you're being flexible. Treating everyone the same? No. Treating people as individuals? Treating people as individuals? Yep. Collaborating?
Yep.
Yes.
Sure.
Yeah. You get the idea here, I think. Being autocratic?
What's that? Sorry.
Autocratic means very strict in how you want things done.
Oh, okay.
No.
That's not flexible. Yeah.
No,
it's not
exactly not. No. Exactly not. Adapting to others?
Yeah.
Yep.
Prejudging people?
No.
No. Do we do it?
Yeah.
Do we prejudge people?
We always do it.
Yeah.
We always do it.
It's
Well, they reckon the first 10 to 12 seconds you've made your mind up about someone, which is actually maybe daft, isn't it, when you think about it?
It is, and it's so hard to change that perspective.
That
because I saw
initial,
it.
yeah.
I saw it on my team. Whenever someone is new in the team, they don't accept that person that easy.
Yeah. Need to get to know them and so on. So yeah.
Yeah.
Moving on, understanding the other person, is that sign of flexibility? Yes.
Yes.
Yep. Shouting to make a point?
No.
No. No. Being highly directive? It's
Not
kind of
quite.
like being autocratic. Yeah, no. Building relationships?
Yeah.
Definitely. Always taking the same approach to others?
Nope.
No, absolutely not.
Mhm.
Okay, so on the next couple of pages, there's a few more hints and tips on how you'd approach flexibility. So on page 44, just a bit about what I've been saying. You know, if you're working, whatever style you are, if you're working with an analytical, you know, relate to tasks, be well prepared, get the facts right, don't start sentences with I feel. And if you're too analytical, so it's actually, it's fine, but you actually need to adapt and make sure that you pay attention to time, because it's easy for analyticals to get carried away and be experts on the subject they're on. Likewise with the driver, be task focused, be efficient, be rational, don't exaggerate. Expressives are great for exaggerating. I've told you a million times not to exaggerate. No, you haven't. So with the drivers particularly, don't exaggerate and give them choices and options. Drivers like options. Okay, what's the best option? Well, these are the three options. This is the one I recommend. Give them alternatives. Amiables, be open and honest, develop your relationship, give personal support, no hidden agendas. Expressives, big picture first. Expressives love the big picture, aren't as big on the detail. Be enthusiastic, especially about their ideas. Share thoughts and feelings openly. If you flick over to the next page, page 45, I'll just get you to read that and how you can work with each social style. So if you just take a couple of minutes to read that, then we can chat about it if you like. Any comments on any of that?
Sounds
Makes sense.
about right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right, the next couple of pages, page 47 is an action plan for flexing your behaviour. And let me just tell you what I'm getting at there. If you've maybe if you've got an issue with a relationship you have, and because this is about people and it's situational, this could be work, it could be family, it could be friends, it could be anyone, because it's all about relationships. So if you have a look at page 46, you can look at how you might go about flexing your behaviour depending on what style you're working with. So so for me as an expressive, so if I want to improve my relationships with amiables, expressives, analyticals, or drivers, here's some hints on what I could do. So for example, for me, With an amiable, I could be less direct, but no change to openness, because amiables and expressives are both open. They're next to each other on the grid. But certainly I can try to be less direct, encourage their opinion, slow down, and exercise patience. A while ago, I started writing a lot more stuff in here, and I stopped because you can't be too prescriptive with this, because everybody is so different, you know. So, but that's just a few hints. So for an expressive, if I'm dealing with another expressive, so if I'm dealing with Jordan Fleming, okay, no change in directness or openness. Establish an agenda, give structure by taking notes, verification and follow-up, and summarize agreements in writing. So with other expressives, that's what I need to do. If I'm, and so on, you get the idea. So no matter what style you are, there are a few hints and tips for how you might flex your behavior. So then if you think of a relationship that's maybe not working so well, page 47, referring to what's on page 46, you can think of them and you can think of what might work to be more flexible with them.
But I thought we're not supposed to prejudge people, so we're guessing as to what type they are. We're judging
Well, you're
them.
not guessing, because hopefully after today, Ellen, you'll be able to work out what type.
So just us, we're just allowed to do it amongst us.
Yeah, but with this action plan, it's actually, you know, if you know someone quite well, you should be able to work out what style they are. That's why we've looked at body language and how people behave and so on. So in determining what style they are, we're not prejudging them, because actually we're basing it on their behavior. Sure. So it's their behavior, their body language.
It's evidence-based.
Evidence, thank you. That's the word I was looking for, Ellen. Absolutely spot on. So it's evidence-based. So if you're struggling in a relationship, having used the clues on there as to how you might flex your behavior. Now, everyone's different, so you can't be too prescriptive about it. But the interesting thing with this is, if you start flexing your behavior to whatever style the other person is, ultimately, depending on how damaged your relationship is, ultimately they'll start flexing back to you, even if they haven't done social styles, because on the subconscious level, they'll see a change in your behavior and they will probably respond to it. Now, if the relationship's really damaged, it might take a while. So don't try it once or twice and then give up. You might have to try quite a few times, but actually, you know, you will get a response ultimately, I think. We're nearly finished. Any thoughts on that?
I mean, this is probably speaking as an expressive, but is there any way you can advocate for yourself to have say, like, listen, for me, I really prefer this, you know, like, or whatever, you know, and kind of acknowledge your own misconceptions or challenges? Or is that something that's like, I'm only drawn to that idea of like telling people because I actually am an expressive, so I fall in there and I'm like sharing, I'm open and sharing it anyway.
I think that might be a bit of it, but do you mean actually saying to them?
Yeah, being like, hey, like I've just experienced, you know, I mean, I'm 44 and I feel like I have a little bit of a blueprint for people to understand me or to how they work best with me, you know, after all these years of working. And I can give people a little cheat sheet, you know, like.
Yeah. I think that's a good idea. You know, if you've got a relationship with someone and you think you can do that, I think that's a good idea. Just, you know, this is how I like stuff presented to me, or this is what I'm feeling with this. And yeah, I think that's a good, you know, so then they're more aware.
That's also going to be very dependent on the other person and how they react to things like that. I mean, it's one thing to say, well, I feel like this, therefore I'm going to put it out there. That's fine, but that's not going to be received very well by everybody. And some people aren't going to have the confidence to feel like that's not just a criticism or anything like that. I think,
or have the confidence to challenge it,
or even just see it as anything but a criticism that hurts them. Not everybody will see that in a positive light, I don't think. I mean,
I guess my thought on that is just a lot of this is like how we can work with others, what we can do to flex, what we can do, whatever. And it's like, where is there an opportunity to ask people to flex for us? Or we're just kind of, you said that if you demonstrate flexibility, people will often mirror that back to you. So if that's the best course.
I think what you're saying there, you know, if you give people feedback on you, if you gave it to another expressive, that'd be fine. But, you know, analyticals and amiables might not be fine with it. You know, I'm generalizing now, but I would say, yeah, I mean, do it by, so, you know, you're an expressive, slow down your normal rate of speech when you're with amiables and analyticals, you know, and with analyticals, make sure you focus on detail and the facts, and that will, you know, they'll see that showing them respect. So it's just kind of being, but within your comfort zone. It's Ellen, it's not about you becoming analytical, because I don't think you could do it. I certainly couldn't, you know, so it's not about that, but it's about just, I guess, nudging yourself a bit closer to what their preferred way of behaving is, I guess, in a nutshell. Nearly finished. If we have a look at page 48, it's just a summary of the whole thing. So primary asset for analyticals is facts, drivers to be in control, amiables to be supportive, expressives to be energetic. We're not going to go through all of these. We might just look at the third line for growth. So in other words, for growth, this is from an interpersonal point of view. Analyticals need to become engaged, so they need to get involved rather than, you know, thinking they're just a lone person. Drivers need to listen more. Amiables need to initiate, in other words, to get things started. And expressives need to check. Expressives going all over the place, but they need to check they're on the right track. So that's just a few examples there. The final piece is an activity, which I think it's a good idea for you guys to do. Page 49 and 50. So page 49, it's an individual activity to record successes and challenges in dealing with the different personality types. From interactions that you have with each of the 4 styles, record what went well and what you could do better. So maybe over the next week, try to identify what style people are. And Ellen, this is what you were saying before. If you're going to flex your behavior to suit them more, then you probably want to make sure you can you get it right. So try to work out, and who's who, and maybe at your next team meeting, present what your experiences are. That's up to you. I mean, if it's a series of workshops, I normally pick up on this, but Tudor, we've got another session next week. So what we might do, have a think of each of your team members, and we'll get you to plot where each one is on the grid, and we'll chat about it.
Perfect. I have like an idea for some of them. So
okay. Well, actually, if you've got an idea, that's great. But what you can also do, watch their behavior. So the next time you're talking to them, what they're saying, what their body language is like, all of those things, and that will give you more hints.
Perfect.
And the other thing, just 2 things quickly. Firstly, the reason I like this model, you can say, well, is someone an analytical, is someone an expressive? I mean, for people, can I say, like probably me and Jordan and probably you, Ellen, it's quite obvious that we're expressive, but actually with other people, it's not so obvious if you look at analytical, amiable, and so on. The reason I like this model is you can break it down into the component parts. So go back to the influencing dimension and the responding dimension. So is someone direct in how they influence, or are they indirect? Is someone open, or are they reserved? Often people will say to me, well, I'm not sure about whether they're open or reserved in terms of the responding dimension. And I'll say, well, if you're not sure what they are, they're probably reserved, because actually if they're open, you'd kind of know about it. So so that's one of the reasons I like this particular model, that rather than just talking about the 4 styles, it breaks down into its component parts. And just finally, I guess, Jordan, you mentioned at the start that, the workbook's 50 pages, which it is, it's hard to deny, but actually there's a lot of reference stuff in here. So, and there's a lot of detail about the 4 different styles. So, if you're not sure, go back and study it. And finally, if you want to take your partners, if you've got one, or your family through this, feel free, print the workbook off and go through it with them, because actually, if we teach other people something, we'll remember a lot more of it. And if you have any questions, drop me an email, and feel free. So so that's what it's for. Feel free to do that. I'm not protective about the material. It's all on the it's all in the open environment anyway. So feel free to do that if you'd like to. So that's social styles. Any further comments? Any questions?
Yeah, I think.
Sorry, I'm gonna I gotta leave you guys. I have another meeting that I need to
No
attend.
worries. Yeah, we're finished anyway. Cesar, thanks for
Bye,
coming
Cesar.
along.
Bye bye.
Nice meeting you,
Yeah,
Brendan.
great to
Ellen.
meet you, Cesar. Cheers,
Bye.
mate. Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
No, the only thing I was going to say is particularly this applies probably to Tudor and Mihaela, since you guys both are managing teams now in a more direct way than you ever have before.
Yeah.
You know, why I think this has always been useful and how I've used it for the last 10 years or so, 9 years, is not to put people into a box and make an assumption of them, but it is to recognize that not everybody is me and not everybody reacts the same way. And
Yes.
when I've been, you know, I've been managing people for 15 years now, probably poorly for many of them. But the truth is understanding that someone else is not going to react the same way as me and adjusting myself to understand to the way that they really will really act better has made me a better salesperson and a better manager by far.
Yeah.
Because rather than in my heart of hearts, I'd probably just go, God's sakes, it's this, come on, let's go and be done with it. But that's not going to work for someone who would feel attacked or, you know, and so when I've had team members underneath me or people who've reported to me, trying to work out who they are, what type of style they are as a dominant one, not shoehorning them, but it's helped me just understand a context of maybe why they've had problems. Why have I not been able to work with them well, or they haven't been able to work with each other well? Where is there something there, and that I can then spot and maybe understand how to finesse a little more, and have a bit more empathy that these people, whoever they are, maybe they look at it slightly differently, and I have to respect that if I'm going to get the best out of them and make them feel comfortable. So that's why I feel this knowledge isn't a guide that you slavishly work through. It's roadmaps that just help you have a little bit of a sense of the people around you and
better understand them.
Well, and from a sales point of view as well, management and the sales, if you're talking to customers, you know, you'll often talk to customers and you have people have difficulty speaking to someone. And sometimes it's just because you're coming at the problem from two different ways, and understanding that can help you do it. So that's why I think this is important.
It's a great point. And something I forgot to mention, and it's interesting, you know, with Tudor and Mihaela, you're both managing teams. Anyone can be effective in any role if you show high levels of flexibility. You know, so you pigeonhole people. You know, you can say, for example, the best accountants would be analyticals. You know, and that's fine. But actually, if you've got good levels of flexibility, you can be successful in any role. And I think, you know, both of you are amiables, and if you're in leadership positions, amiables build great relationships, and amiables get on great with people. So that's a great start in terms of managing people. Now, what you might need to do is, you know, if you've got a conflict situation, you'll probably need to do what doesn't come naturally, and that is deal with it. You know, you'll want to avoid it or whatever. And at times you might need to be a bit more direct. But actually, the core of building relationships you've got, you know, so and you might feel other things at different times, and you need to be flexible. But it is only just adding that flexibility into what you do already. Certainly.
Of course. Yeah.
Yeah. This will help. This will help us a lot managing everything and better understanding better understanding the people that we're working to. I had lately a conflictual situation, and I had to deal with it because that's what we have to do after all.
Yeah.
And I feel, because that's how I talk with I feel that I managed to do it by communicating, and after that making some decisions and being a bit of a driver and saying, okay, now we are going to do like this.
Yes.
And that's how I succeeded through communication, because I feel that the communication is the best way to solve things. And after that, to make decisions and respect these decisions. So we said we are going to do like that, so let's do like that. And it seems it is the best way to go.
And Mihaela, how did you feel when you were being quite direct and saying, this is how we're going to do it. How did you feel?
Anxious a bit,
Yes.
because that's not my style, and I don't want people to see me too bossy.
Yes.
Because I want to be close to them, but I need them to understand that we have to make things true, and to make everything go and work. And I have a lot of ideas in my head now, and I want to put order in them.
Go away and think about it. But that will, you being direct like that, that's you flexing your behavior, and it will be uncomfortable, you know. But that's okay, you know. But you're thinking it through, and I think the other thing I would say is, in all roles, it's important that people listen to each other, and listening. Our listening skills aren't that good generally, and it's important in sales. It's important in service. You know, if you're talking to a client, if they've got issues, but it's important when you're managing teams. But they need to listen as well, and they need to listen to each other, and I think that's a key as well.
What I've used to do lately, not lately, it's one of my habits to do this every few months. I have a 1-by-1 meeting with everyone from the team, and I get their pulse. I see how they are, how they feel, both personally, both with the team and the work, what they want, what are their visions. And I'm sorry that Caesar is not here anymore, because he said that he likes so much our meetings like that. And makes me know them better and know how to work with them and how to try to improve myself in order to be there for them.
Yeah.
And also what I wanted to say before is regarding being flexible about how is their performance. It's from this conflictual situation that I had, I understood that this is very important to understand each person and be flexible with what they have to do, and they will perform after all, and they will do what they have to do, and they will improve themselves. You have to give them a bit of trust and understanding.
Definitely.
And not put a so high level on your requests.
Yeah, and fully understand the individual, and that's absolutely the key. Mihaela, thanks very much for that. That's really good. Let me just finish by one. As I said, you know, people often view amiables as maybe not being as strong as some of the other styles. But again, it's, as I say, with flexibility, you can perform well in any role. It's probably, Tudor and Mihaela, you're quite young. I don't know if you remember the former US President Bill Clinton, right? Obviously, US President, the most powerful person on the planet. He was an amiable. Sorry, he is an amiable. He's still alive. So he's an amiable, and here he was, the most powerful person on the planet. You know, he had a number of his own wars going on in Central America, Jordan, didn't he? And dodgy stuff he was doing, and he obviously managed to deal with that conflict. And you know, because actually, why do I think he's amiable? When he was accused of having sexual relationships with Monica Lewinsky, if you look at how he responded, his eyes were looking down, and he said, I did not have sexual relationships with that woman, right? Now, if you look at how an expressive would say that, it wouldn't be like that, would it, Jordan? God damn, who's accusing me of that? So you can be successful in any role from any style if you show high levels of flexibility, and it's flexibility is the absolute key.
Can I just add something? So in business school, I think I mentioned the last time training we had, I did a lot of like the leadership courses and stuff. And one of the things that they really talk about is that it's really good to have a mixed group. You know, if everybody's the same, if everyone's homogenous, like you're actually weaker that way. It's so good to have all these different personality types, because each one has their strength and each one keeps something from falling through the cracks.
Definitely. The last job I had was in Bank of Scotland, where I was managing people. It was about 15, 16 years ago. I think we're all expressives and amiables, and I hired an analytical into the group just to, you know, to help give a structure. A lady by the name of Mary Pender, she's now head of talent at Standard Life, which is one of the big pension funds here in Edinburgh. So she's done well, Jordan. So yeah, listen, thanks very much. You've all contributed enthusiastically, which makes it really really easy for me. So thanks indeed, and have a great Christmas, everybody. And I'll see you next week.
Of course.
And,
Perfect.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for everything.
Cheers, everybody.
All right. Thank you. Thanks.
Have a good
Thank you,
trip.
guys.
Cheers.
You too.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye, guys.
Bye.